The CFL preseason wraps up tonight with 4 games on the schedule, but Mother Nature not playing nice in the nation's capital. We are currently in a weather delay, but we will get you back to TD Plays as soon as the players return to the field. We have Ottawa, Montreal coming up a little later on TSN. The CFL preseason wraps up tonight with 4 games on the schedule. Now, Mother Nature wasn't playing nice in the nation's capital, but the great news is the players have returned to the field. We expect kickoff between the Red Blacks and the Alouettes coming up just before 8 Eastern. And welcome to the CFL on TSN. Kate Burness alongside Enoch Mwamba and Davis Sanchez. And you have to be kidding me that they didn't even get us into the regular season before we had a weather delay. We're all like, you got to be kidding. When our producer Troy came in and was like, oh, there's weather in Ottawa, we were all like, oh, okay. No, they really did it. Okay, we're going to have about a 55-minute delay, but good news, players back on the field.
Lots to talk about.
Lots to talk about, too, especially under a week to go before the regular season. But let's just talk about these guys that are on the field today. So there will not be starters for either Ottawa or Montreal. But a lot of these guys, they still need to prove something because final cuts are coming down this weekend. It is a big moment for a lot of these players tonight.
Absolutely, Kate. There's so much to prove for a lot of these guys, and they have a lot to prove. The coaches are watching every step and every play. They want to see if they can retain information, if they can execute, and everything that they've learned. It's going to be pretty vanilla, so it's going to be about, can you make plays? And if you can't make plays, you likely won't be on this team for a long time. But at the same time, as a player, as a young guy in this league, when you're coming out here, you're not just playing for the team whose jersey you have on. You're playing really for every other team that's watching as well. So you have to put your best foot forward.
It's an audition. They always say that. You're auditioning for every team in the league. You know, everyone always talks about when you look at training camp, look at preseason, everyone talks about the rookies because those are the guys that we're most interested in, kind of, who will be the next wave. You always, you think about every year, what do we say, knock three to five new guys on each team, probably going to be rookies. Now, if we look at that across the league, you got 40, 50 new guys coming into the league. That means 40, 50 guys are gone. So not just the rookies that are trying to vie for positions here, it's also veterans that are trying to keep their jobs. And I think, for guys like us, look, most of our career, that wasn't a concern, fortunately. But there are a lot of guys who year to year are battling for those jobs. And those guys, some of those guys will be playing, key minutes then as well.
Now, you just mentioned it. I mean, you guys were perennial stars, let's say what it was, and you're probably watching at this point. But if you're a player, and we were talking about this before we went on today, if you're a player, you're not dressing tonight, but you see something on the field. I mean, what are you doing? And I loved the story you had about Adam Big Hill.
Oh, yeah, the Biggie. So, I mean, look, we have relationship with these coaches, and some guys or some coaches, you can kind of get in their ear a little bit.
This is a separate hit entirely.
I like number 50. I like 22. Take a look at 22, and you kind of can give those coaches your opinion. Adam Big Hill, with his rookie year in BC, we were loaded, and Solomon Elamimian was also there as a rookie, and he had the starting middle linebacker job. We had a couple other veterans on that team, and I remember it was a close call for Biggie to make that squad. I remember talking to Mike Benavides on the sideline during the preseason game and saying, hey, Benny, and not that he was not going to keep him, but it was close. And I said, Benny, we got to find a way to keep this Big Hill guy. I said, this guy will run through a wall for this football team. You could just tell him in meetings how he conducted himself. But, I mean, we have a chance to get in coaches' ear and also, who we want around.
I love that story, Chaz. I mean, we wouldn't have had Biggie if we didn't have you. So
that's it. So Adam Big Hill was in the league and has won all the awards he has because of one Davis Sanchez, is what we learned this season.
No, but that's not what I took from there, but okay.
But you're totally right. I mean, especially every coach, the best coaches have great relationships with some of their leaders. Yeah. And they want to hear some of these things. Because as a coach, there's only so much that you can see. And some of the vets, at times, you'll have guys, younger guys coming in, hey, Enoch, hey, Chad, can you help me out with this play? How do you play? How would you play that? And these are things that happen without the coach's presence. And coaches don't see that necessarily. So you have to have guys like you to rely on as a coach, definitely, to see things that you wouldn't have seen as a coach.
Trust factor, right? I mean, guys, the veterans talk to coaches, and
of course,
there's the things that coaches don't see, whether it's out on the street, whether it's in the locker room, whether it's in meetings. That you have to be able to trust guys, and that matters. So it's, guys, people that might not think that matters, it absolutely does. The relationship and how much you could trust some guys, and that will, how you deal with your veteran teammates makes a big difference.
Davis Sanchez brought Adam Bighill into the CFL.
Stop it.
Stop starting it now.
Like
it's rolling now because we said it on national TV.
You're welcome, Biggie.
All right, don't go anywhere. We do have kickoff coming up from the nation's capital at TD Place. The Montreal Alouettes huddling up, taking on the Ottawa REDBLACKS. The final preseason game for both teams. We'll get you back to Ottawa right after this. Well, the rain is still coming down, but we are expecting some football. The starters, as mentioned, sitting tonight, but still so much to prove for some of these players as final cuts are made this weekend. With more on tonight's game, let's send it over to the guys calling it. It is Rod Smith and Paul LaPolice.
Thank you, Kate. Hello there, and greetings from Ottawa. Hey, it's preseason, but I see as far as weather delays, we're in mid-season form right now.
Absolutely.
Finally, as you say, Kate, getting set for the kickoff of this final preseason game for these two teams. And then they start playing for real next week, and the regular season begins. Interesting. Both of these teams made some significant changes. The Montreal Alouettes had the best record in the regular season in the CFL last year, but have a look, Lapo, at some of the changes they made. Not on that list. Davis Alexander he was the number 3 quarterback and is now their number 1.
That was the biggest change. And you look at these players that left the organization. The Montreal Alouettes wanted to keep the players that they had in the building. Those players were players they just couldn't afford after they signed all the players that they wanted on the list. I love McLeod Bethel-Thompson coming in, giving Davis Alexander a veteran football player that can help him through an 18-game season as a starter. I think that's great. But I think for Montreal, it was, we're going to reload with the team we have. In the East Final last year, we didn't play our best football. We turned the ball over too much. We were right in that football game. This is a team that has the Coach of the Year, a team that won first place last season. So I think they want to keep that core group together and go from there.
Down in the rain on the field here at TD Place, you won't recognize a lot of those names or faces because it is a preseason game, a last look for a lot of these players. There's Tanner Nelms, one of the young players for the Alouettes, and trying to make this team. But, they get a chance, and we've seen in these preseason games, sometimes you get players that stand out, and it can, make a difference. And I know you coached it. You've lived it so many times. You got to make some big decisions once these games are over.
I think in this second game, Rod, what really is happening is you're really solidifying the end of your roster. You know probably 75% to 80% of your roster, but you're saying which players are going to show up well enough tonight that can be the guys on the practice squad, the guys who are going to be the one guy you protect in injury each week. You're trying to figure out the end of the roster, and when there's injuries, the next players step up. Very seldomly you're in a situation, Rod, where a guy's going to play in this game tonight and he's automatically going to make the roster and start playing football. That doesn't happen often. But I think Ottawa's got a lot of changes too here, Rod, like you talk about.
Well, they do. You look at the left there, right at the top, Eugene Lewis, of course, was a star in Montreal. The Owls know all about him. He started there, went to Edmonton for a couple of seasons, and now trying to really give that receiving core for the REDBLACKS a big boost.
A couple of points on what Ottawa did in the offseason. I think Sean Burke did a good job of, he brought in a bunch of defensive backs for Willie Fields to pick kind of what he wanted and say, hey, I'm going to give you a bunch of defensive backs. We're not guaranteeing a lot of money to him, and what that means is making sure that he can kind of choose who he likes out of those guys. And I agree. Khalil Pimpleton's already in the building. You get Eugene Lewis. And I think Ottawa, they need a deep ball threat that Drew Brown can just throw it up and guy can run it down, make big plays. They do like to throw the football in Ottawa a lot, but they haven't had that guy who can go up and take the football away for a 30-yard completion. Quarterbacks love guys who are big and got big arm strength and like big arms, high hands, go up and take the ball away. That's what Eugene Lewis is. That's what they get with this football team for Drew Brown.
You talk about Will Fields, the new defensive coordinator here in Ottawa. Had that job with the Toronto Argonauts winning a Grey Cup last year. Robert Priester one of his players, had a big interception for a touchdown in that Grey Cup, and defeating Winnipeg and Priester, now a member of the Ottawa REDBLACKS, to set it up. And decisions to be made and final cuts after this final preseason game, Kate Burness, and the final weather delay of the year. I promise, sort of.
Did somebody get that on camera that Rod Smith just promised there will be? I was thinking about that. I'm not kidding you. I'm like, you know what? Good. Get it out of the way. This is fine. We'll have no more weather delays. I like this too. I'm absolutely fine with a 1-hour weather delay in preseason. Let's stick with the Ottawa theme.
I don't think it works like that, KB.
No, it does. Rod Smith, who is the godfather of the CFL, just told me it, so that's exactly what's happening this entire season. Let's stick with the Ottawa REDBLACKS right now and look, doing player interviews. I mean, the amount of swagger coming from this team right now, it begins with Gino Lewis moving over from Edmonton. And look, the last phenomenal season that he truly did have, and he had some good seasons in Edmonton, but it was that over 1,300 receiving yards when he was with the Montreal Alouettes. And, you know, I get where it comes from in Gino, and maybe that was his best year, but he's ready, and he's ready to prove that. I mean, he's still got it. His family's closer in Philadelphia. They will be in attendance of a lot of these games. And just looking what they've added to this team, it may make a difference here, Enoch.
Absolutely, Kate. You talk about a guy in Gino Lewis who, for some reason, some way, somehow, feels like he's got a lot to prove, and which is a good thing. It's a great approach to have at this stage in his career. And you talk about Edmonton, but yes, I remember him. Davis, you talked about the beginnings of Adam Big Hill. I remember when Eugene Lewis was about to get cut as well. And he came back. I didn't save him, but he came back, and thank God we have him in the CFL. He is going to be a key piece for the Ottawa REDBLACKS.
Well, you saw in that graphic we just put up, they're 8th in points scored last year. Drew Brown put up big numbers, but they didn't get in the red zone. You look at what Eugene Lewis does well, scored touchdown. I think he scored 8 straight games going into this season. So a red zone target for a team that struggled to score.
Well, and the fun part is, too, I mean, put him in a Darius Pickett. I mean, just you have so much life and so much fun right now. And look, for Ottawa, too, I mean, they're looking for redemption after what happened against the Toronto Argonauts, especially on the defensive side.
No, absolutely. They got a lot of stuff going on in the defensive side. They need to have a little bit more consistency.
Yeah.
I'm excited for what's coming. I'm looking at Lorenzo Malden, the former defensive player of the year.
All right, we'll see what Lozo and the rest of the REDBLACKS can do this season. Meanwhile, I have great news. We've got football coming up from the nation's capital. It's Montreal taking on Ottawa.
We always win. I'm just big and fat. From the east to the west, take it to the max. Wax off. All that stuff made us the best. Sweat and tears, baby, but we knew we'd make it. Listen to the cheers, know the other team hate it. The legacy we leaving, we can say it 'cause we made it. Just give us that love, 'cause it's time to celebrate it.
We welcome you back to the nation's capital on a very rainy night. The worst of the storm has blown through, so the delay is over, ready to play, but still a gentle rain coming down here in Ottawa for the Alouettes and the REDBLACKS, closing out their preseason, and then the final cuts come. And this guy next to me knows all about molding a team after the preseason. Some big decisions have to be made. Not many starters, hardly any in this game, Lapo. And yet, what's the importance here? What are you looking for as a head coach in this game for your players?
You're looking at the youngest players that are going to be at the bottom of your roster. Can these players perform in situational football when the game is faster? You know, obviously practice is very important, but when you get to game speed, you got to show you can perform, do the things correctly. And you get a lot of guys right now that are trying to be at the bottom of the roster, Rod, that is going to be on the practice squad. Hey, we trust these players that are going to be in our building. You got to find out who the guys you're going to be able to trust at the, you know, basically at the start of the season, you carry them all the way to the Grey Cup. So that's what you're trying to, all these guys are trying to show that I can be part of this team and help this team build for the future.
These two teams met in the first preseason game last Saturday in Montreal. Ottawa won that one 23-7. Richie Leone to kick off. REDBLACKS won the toss and deferred. We are underway in Ottawa. Travis Tice is back for it. Trying to make this team starting at the 20 in the return. He had a couple of good returns, punt returns last week. And he is taken down right at the 30. So Caleb Evans, no stranger to these parts, played for Lapo with the REDBLACKS starting in 2021. 2 years here career. This is his third season with Montreal.
Yeah, very athletic quarterback, and has, got thrown into the fire here, Rod. Originally never ever played in a football game before. There was that first COVID year. He ended up playing in 21. He had to jump into games after a couple years moved over to Montreal. Has done a nice job as a backup for them.
Watch the running back beside him, Stevie Scott, trying for the second straight year to crack the squad. He has the ball. And he pushes ahead up to around the 34, where among those in on the tackle is Robert Priester, new Red Black coming over from the Argos.
Willie Fields gets some guys he's familiar with. Robert Priester comes over from that Argonaut team. Right, you talked about he had a huge interception in the Grey Cup last season. A lot of changes in this defensive backfield for the Red Blacks. They wanted to get better in the secondary, so they brought a bunch of guys in to compete.
A couple of yards there for Scott. Second down and long. Evans to throw. Into the hands, but no. There was good coverage. Bennett Williams coming in. That one intended for Jordan Vesey, I believe. Falls incomplete. 3rd and 7 coming up here for the Owls.
Caleb's seeing the soft part of the zone here. They go to a little bit of bunch. You'll see a guy right in the middle of the field. Just a little bit late on that throw. Good push underneath on defense. That's a way to put your hands in, make a play on the football. Bennett Williams, really nice play there, using that long arm of his to knock the football down.
Flag coming out. Joshua Sloan, the punter for the Alouettes. Normally Joseph Zima, who did a lot of the punting last week in Montreal.
Players on the field. It's a 5-yard penalty. We'll replay 3rd down.
As announced by the referee, Ben Major, 13 on the field, pushing the Alouettes back.
And this is the stuff that happens in preseason when you have so many people on the sideline, so many extra players. And really, that's one of the things the coaches are trying to say. Like, a lot of these guys are trying to make it Rod to play special teams. Who makes the mistake? They've had too many people out there, so you're really concerned about how the special teams play. And it's hard for these special teams coaches with so many different bodies going in from quarter to quarter.
So Sloan to get it away around the 20, the lone returner. Asante takes it at the 35 for Ottawa. Ball comes out, and the Alouettes have it. It is Tanner Nelms, or Vincent DeLille, both wearing 29. 2 29s in this game, and it's DeLille on special teams after a big hit. And an Alouette player is still down, but Montreal gets it at the Ottawa 35 on that.
Good things happen when you run to the football. Big strike right here. Hit the ball. Make sure you make physical contact on the football. Bang. That's clinic. You always want to get your face mask right on the hands of the returner. Does that. Beautiful. Hands right. Face mask right on the ball. Knocks it out. Huge turnover.
That's Katie Davis is getting the start at linebacker in the middle for the Owls, and on special teams. Biggest play so far here as he pops it out of Asante, and it's DeLille, who was one of the draft picks in 2024 out of Laval.
Yes, a couple 29s on the roster, 29 on offense, 29 on defense.
I remember one play a couple of years ago, Lapo, in this game, Montreal at Ottawa preseason, when Richie Leone, number 13, punted. There was another 13. Lucas Cormier was wearing that on the field, and he lit up the returner. And I remember thinking, Richie Leone, who knew he had that in him?
Kickers never get a break in preseason. Never get a break.
And a flag is out on that completion for Caleb Evans to Stevie Scott. Down to the 30. You see the flag.
5 yards in the CFL, second 5 using a city site.
Jason Moss, 3rd season as head coach of the Alouettes.
Montreal had no end on their left side. We'll go back 5 yards. We'll replay 1st down.
You talked about preseason penalties. Another example?
Yeah, you're just trying to say, hey, like, obviously somebody didn't get lined up. They had a misinformation on what the formation is. These are all the things the coaches are looking and evaluating. Hey, preseason. Hey, last week, their officials called when he called the penalty. I talked right over it, Rod. I wasn't in my game speed yet.
You're in regular season form now.
Regular season form.
Spinning there is Stevie Scott as he picks up most of that penalty yardage. So a second down and looks like a little over 10 coming up here for the Alouettes. Yeah, Jason Moss, what a first-year as head coach in Montreal. They were second in the East, the massive upset over the Argos in Toronto, but to go on and beat Winnipeg in the Grey Cup. Be great for 8 was the motto then. They had the best team regular season-wise in the CFL last year, but the Argos returned the favor. Went on to win it all. It's Evans now, second and 11. That run is complete. Tyjon Lindsay has it. His first catch of this game. Lindsay down about the red-black 20 and a first down, Montreal.
Caleb Evans, good read on the progression. He's looking hard to his left to see what's happening. He doesn't like what he sees. He goes back inside to Lindsay. Nice timing throw by Caleb here. Looking outside first, comes back inside when he doesn't like the picture on the outside.
Lindsay, in his second year, technically got in one game last year with the Alouettes against Winnipeg on the ground. Scott, the incumbent running back Walter Fletcher, who played last week and is getting a rest tonight. And as mentioned, Scott, second straight year trying to break through and picks up a few more yards there in a second down coming up.
Ottawa's done a really good job. Last year, Rod, one of the best rushing defenses in the Canadian Football League. Third in rushing defense. I thought, that's one of the areas they were very strong in. They want to get better in the back end and the pass secondary. But good run stop right there.
Another second down and long. Caleb Evans, any quarterback. It's knocked down. Coming in, Daniel Apoko.
Early in the game, a little bit of pressure in this area. You're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people at the line of scrimmage coming. When you pressure at times and you can't get to the quarterback, what do? Put your hands up. Nice play right there by Daniel Apoko. Excellent job making a knockdown there. Second round pick. 11th overall in 2024 for the REDBLACKS.
And so Joshua Hutley comes in, the left-footed kicker. A couple of field goals last week. He was 2 for 2, and he's 1 for 1 in this one of the first points of this preseason game from 24 yards out. Joshua Hutley from Concordia University. Field goal situation because of that. Knocked down by Apoko. The starting quarterback for the REDBLACKS tonight is Matthew Schultz, a familiar name. Started his career with the Alouettes back in 2017. Later moved on to Hamilton last year with the Calgary Stampeders, signing on as a free agent to back up Drew Brown. Lapo.
Yeah, and you remember him obviously with the Owls, and then Montreal traded for Trevor Harris and kind of made him expendable, and then he goes on to Hamilton, played a little bit, played injured for Bo Levi Mitchell. He was actually the starter in the East semifinal, if you remember, Rod. Last year went to Calgary. For him, he's just got to show that he can take over a job. And sometimes that's not all him. It's sometimes maybe he's on a place that doesn't have a great defense, but he just hasn't performed well enough to take that job over.
First and 10, Ottawa 40. Faking the handoff, dumping it off, and he is caught. And it is number 85, Lincoln Victor.
And another thing about Matthew Schultz, so, he didn't take the job away, but these are the people who took the job. Vernon Adams, who's a starter in the league still, Bo Levi Mitchell, and Trevor Harris. I mean, those are 3 really good quarterbacks who are going to have a long career in this league, or have had. So it's sometimes hard to get that opportunity, and that's what he's trying here in Ottawa to see if he can be a backup.
More experience in that REDBLACKS quarterback room. Drew Brown heading into his second year as Ottawa's starter. And it's Schultz, and can't find a receiver, and he runs out of time. He is taken down, and with the sack, it is Byron Vaughns. Another one with some changes up front defensively for the Alouettes. Can Vaughns crack that roster and get a spot in this Montreal defense?
Yeah, Vaughn coming off the edge, you'll see right here, coming off, winning with speed across the outside. Okay, just comes around speed, gets the hands down, knocks hands down of Darda Lee at tackle, and is able to speed rush around and get to the quarterback. Nice play on the outside.
So Richie Leone, the veteran, 8th season out of Houston, standing back at his 20, and looking to get this one away. And Travis Tice.
The 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
There's another penalty. A player didn't go out, so they took a time count penalty because they didn't want to punt with not enough players on. So I'm sure that's not going to be a good situation tomorrow in meetings.
was going to say the players obviously judged on the physical, but judged on the mental errors as well. In a situation.
I mean, it's all about you want players who can. I mean, everybody's got a fast 40. Everybody's got this. Can you do what we ask you to do?
The punt from Leone and Travis Tice is back for it. Nice move around. Great move back. Across midfield. And he is still on his feet. And not a conventional punt returner, Lapo, from they're kind of built like a fullback.
Yeah, and that's what you want out of guys. Guys who can make you miss strong lower bodies. Great job by Tice.
Owls set up in good shape in the red-black zone again. That number 31's making a case for making this Alouette team. Last week, he had a 48-yard punt return. This one, Lapo, 31 for 31.
The biggest thing you want to do, that play right there, make the first player miss. Once you do that, you can get great yardage. Frankie Griffin can't make the tackle. Why? Because Tice has a strong lower body. He's able to make a big play.
First down, Caleb Evans. Low pass, swinging it out for Stevie Scott. Falls incomplete.
And for Tice, you know, there's a guy that's on the sideline that he probably saw last week get a punt return for a touchdown. Devontae Dedmon, one of the things Dedmon does so well, he is a strong lower-bodied player that he gets north on his punt returns, but he also can break tackles. He breaks that first tackle, and then there's a huge opportunity for yardage.
And let's not forget the Alouettes already have a star returner in James Letcher, but you never have enough good players, and Tice trying to make an impression on Jason Moss and that coaching staff. From the Ottawa 45, throwing again, it's complete to Scott, coming across, gets it, keeps going, first down and more. Stevie Scott is down inside the red-black 25.
Yeah, as you get deep shots, sometimes people say, hey, why did you check it down here? Well, sometimes you get everybody dropping in zones, and when everybody drops out of there, you don't want to force the football downfield. You go ahead, throw a check down, you get a crossing route, make one person miss. The width of the field helps them, and get upfield, put them back in the red zone again.
Gain of 23 yards for Stevie Scott. Having a busy first quarter in this last preseason game from the 22. First and 10, Caleb Evans. Working against his old team. It's complete again. Coming across. And that completion going to Daniel Oladejo, former Ottawa Red Black. Last couple of years with Ottawa, the team that drafted him, and now getting his first taste of going against them with a catch there.
Yeah, sometimes when those receivers that come in, you'll see he'll end up coming into this screen, and there's going to be a linebacker underneath, and what he does, he just breaks inside as the linebacker overplays it, gives him a little space underneath for the first down.
Gain of 10 exactly. First down at the 12. 3-0 Alouettes, looking for more right now. Evans handing it off to Scott, and he meets a wall right there, going nowhere. Pushed back by the Red Blacks up front. And a second down coming up for Jason Moss and the Owls.
Now you get to work on the situation. You're inside the 15, 17-yard line. This is what you would call the score zone or the red zone. So this team gets to get a couple of reps of their red zone offense, Montreal, and Red Blacks do some red zone D here.
Evans looks for the end zone, scrambles out of the pocket. Bennett Williams nearly home, decides to take off, and he's going in for the touchdown. Caleb Evans. Third on the depth behind Davis Alexander and McLeod Bethel Thompson. Evans didn't play last week, but playing tonight back in Ottawa, familiar territory, and he gets the first touchdown of this game.
A lot of people in coverage. Doesn't allow Caleb to see anybody to throw to, but as there's pressure off the outside, you see pressure here by Bennett Williams. When you're coming, you don't want to lose contain, and when you lose contain versus a mobile quarterback, he's going to make you pay. Caleb Evans' strength is his ability to use his legs, bounces it outside, and Bennett Williams pressures. The guy who pressures on the outside run, he's got to stay wide and keep the quarterback in the pocket.
And the point after from Hutley. So 5 plays, 45 yards, capped off on the ground. The ex-Red Black, Caleb Evans, takes it in. 10-0. Alouettes lead
it. Caleb Evans uses the check down to his advantage, uses his legs to get the touchdown. Watching the video with Jason Moss, taking a look at the coverages that Red Blacks are facing. You know, you've got to have the ability. I always talk about quarterbacks Blacks, you want somebody who's got the ability to use his legs. When stuff breaks down, it's not perfect. And you don't often have quarterbacks, Rod, that are so high, have the ability to see every coverage, every picture. So when you get a guy who can turn around, move, scramble, make plays with his legs, makes the defense's job very difficult.
It is Philip Boyer on the kickoff. And low one off the hop. And I hear Asante picks it up and gets it up across the 35. Evans with James Morgan, another quarterback, looking over his shoulder as we take a look at this touchdown drive.
A lot of coverage by the Red Blacks, early checkdowns, throw the checkdowns that create easy first downs. Again, trying to find people, can't find, throw underneath, give it to your receiver so they can get first down yardage. Bennett Williams doesn't pressure and keep his outside free, allows Caleb to use his athleticism around the defense for the score.
And they had a short field to work with starting in the Red Black zone after a 31-yard punt return. So special teams helping them out there too. First and 10, Ottawa 37, Red Blacks with the ball. And driving forward is Daniel Adebaboye, the ex-Toronto Argonaut, at 3 years with his hometown team, the Argos, capped off with a Grey Cup victory and then signing on as a free agent with the Red Blacks.
Rod, this is one of my favorite signings of last season. Actually, it was a trade with Toronto and Ottawa to get Daniel Adebayo. You know, last year, Jackson Bennett retired real late this season. They've got a guy who I think can go into a football game and perform at a high level and not just finish a game. He's a great special teams player. One of the best plays Red Blacks did last year.
Taking the handoff is Schultz and looking for an open receiver downfield, and a flag comes out for interference intended for Marco Dubois. And it was Riley McLeod, Don Callis, 35, and the coverage there for Montreal. He closed in quickly.
Pass interference. Montreal, number 35. It's going to be first down for Ottawa at the spot of the foul.
Marco is such an athletic, he's a fullback, but he's really an athletic receiver playing fullback. So, I think for Callis, he sees this guy, I don't know if this guy's going to be that fast, but he runs right by him on a corner route, and then the ball's a little bit underthrown. And again, Callis runs through Marco. That's going to cause the penalty every time. Flips the field, puts them in field goal range right now.
A 26-yard pickup with the penalty, an injured Alouette. It's the middle linebacker, K.D. Davis, who's getting some attention down in the field. And the flag comes out instantly with the contact made by Callis on Dubois.
And Dubois is one of those veteran special teams players that has been great for Bob Dice. And, you can put him in certain situations where you put him on the backside and he's just one-on-one with a corner and he's a big body who can really run. Gives you a kind of a mismatch sometimes on some of those smaller guys. You see him, he was a 13th pick overall. As a receiver, didn't actually start at Laval, Rod. He was a kind of rotational player, but I think the Red Blacks felt that this guy could be a special teams demon for us, and we can teach him to play other spots.
And you're right, that speed looks deceptive for a big man.
Yep.
And really motor.
He's been a good special teams player for Coach Dice.
6th year out of Laval. Davis, 2nd year to North Texas. The incumbent middle linebacker, of course, Darnell Sankey, that linebacking core. Sitting tonight with Tyrese Beverett as well, their weak side linebacker. So giving a number of players a chance here, and for some a last chance to crack the Alouette roster heading into the 2025 season. This is the final day of the preseason. There are 3 games going on, 3 other ones. They wrap it all up. And the season opens with the Red Blacks at Mosaic Stadium in Regina next Thursday. Davis gets off under his own steam now.
This is free timeout brought to you by Kinematics.
Don Callis in NFL camps last year. Played his college ball at Troy. 1st and 10 on the penalty for the Red Blacks in the Alouette zone. Play action fake with time. Schultz throws, finds a receiver. It is complete. It is Andre Miller. He worked his way into the Red Blacks offense late last season to pick up a 31 yards for Miller.
Play action. What you call a boot play, and you'll see him coming across the field. You'll see him all the way across Andre Miller. You got 2 posts into the boundary. Clear it all out. Give Miller a spot underneath. The linebackers suck up with the play action. Big target in the middle of the field. Good read from Matthew Schultz and good well-executed play.
First down, he gets it right down to the Montreal 10. So a first and goal here. The handoff. And it's down close, down to about the 1. 9-yard pickup for Dan Adebaboya.
Matthew Schultz's legs kind of force a defensive end on the backside to make sure and give them an opportunity to run. You'll see tempo right here because how close they are to the goal line. They don't want Montreal to substitute. So Ottawa's up on the ball. They're getting ready to play. They don't want any substitution. Montreal, they're going to do a tempo quarterback sneak.
On the second and goal. Redblacks looking for their first points. And the keeper, Schultz, backs his way into the end zone for the Ottawa touchdown. A little spike to boot for Matthew Schultz and a new home.
Nice drive, play action, couple big runs. Give Schultz the ball at the 1-yard line, which is going to be a high percentage touchdown anytime in the Canadian Football League with the defensive lineman line up off the ball. Again, the tempo is just so Montreal can't put their big defensive linemen on the field.
Not many starters tonight, but there's a familiar sight for Ottawa. And the point after try, that kicking game with Richie Leone holding for Lois Ward as he puts it through.
As I said, kickers don't get preseason break off.
They like the work. Get that timing down. Get ready to go. Bob Dice liking that drive. Ottawa gets closer. A good debut for Drew Brown last year. His first as the REDBLACKS #1 quarterback. In behind only Trevor Harris and Henry Burris. Most passing yards in a single season in Ottawa history. Drew Brown, a spectator tonight, standing by with Matthew Shinetti.
Yeah, just getting used to the Ottawa locale again, Rod, after being in Kingston for most of training camp. What was that like being at Queen's University, not only for yourself and getting back into it, but really for building the chemistry around the team ahead of the season?
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously us being confined to that area, we're around each other all the time, and I think that's good for us, you know, being able to talk through certain things and spend time together and continue to get to know each other. I think it's no secret that, you know, if you got a close team, you're going to be pretty good. So I think that being there kind of helped us build that.
In terms of building off of last year, listen, there was that strong start, 8-3-1. You get to the beginning of September, but then just one win, albeit you guys were able to get to the playoffs. What kind of lessons did you learn, knowing that you tried to be a very level-headed presence in the locker room throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously, you know, that was a tough stretch for us. But I think as far as learning from it, you know, young guys got to understand that they're going to be asked to play. And I feel like our guys stepped up pretty good last year, and we got to just continue to build on it. I think from a personal standpoint is just, you know, continuing to, just as a whole, eliminate inconsistent and bad football. I think we were, like myself included, offensively, we weren't stringing together good plays. And, you know, we never talk about necessarily losing. We just talk about not getting enough plays and getting in rhythm. And I think you do that by eliminating the bad ones.
Anything in particular that you focused on in the offseason? I know how much of a student of the game you are. I know how much time you spent around Zach Collaros to get ready for this job here in Ottawa. But anything you did in particular to kind of make sure that you're going to push that next level this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think just combing through your game and seeing, you know, where you can improve. To me, you know, I think someone said it a while back, but, you know, there's so much emotion that goes into the game. When you turn it on the next day and there's no music going and there's no crowd and you're just watching the tape, did you make sound decisions? Did you throw the ball accurately? That's ultimately what my job is. If I do that, we stay on the field and score. If I don't, we don't. It's that simple. And I think really combing through every game and seeing, you know, what was I thinking? What was going going through my mind? Was I, caught up in the moment? Was I caught up in the atmosphere? And ultimately trying to eliminate that and making consistently great decisions, I think, is something that I've always looked at, but especially through that stretch. If I'm going and playing consistently, we're going to be a good team. So,
sound advice and sound perspective. Looking forward to your second season in Ottawa, Drew. Thanks for this.
Thank you.
All right, Matthew, quite the drive happening here for Caleb Evans and the Alouettes, Lapo. While Matthew's talking to Drew Brown, they've been working their way down the field. Jordan Vesey with the latest catch.
Yeah, and a little bit of no huddle. You can see them just not huddling up, trying to go play a little bit fast, change the tempo up. A couple nice throws by Caleb.
First and 10, Ottawa 13. Touchdown. Quick strike, Tyjon Lindsay, and very quickly did Montreal, led by Evans, move down the field to get into the end zone again.
Second catch by Tyjon Lindsay. Caught a dig earlier in this, a 12-yard in route. This time takes the out to the sideline. You'll see Caleb recognizes this throw quickly to the sideline. Nice drive for the Montreals.
Working there on Robert Priester. Touchdown, Tyjon Lindsay. And the point after try. For Joshua Hutton. Pumps it through again. Incumbent kicker.
We can talk about you can talk a little bit about that Drew Brown conversation. I think what's interesting with Drew Brown is the staff talked to me, the REDBLACKS coaches said that the relationship between Tommy and him grew so much over the last year, and that's what you want as a coordinator. Your first year with somebody, you want to try to see what they do well. And here's an interesting thing, Rod. Sometimes it's like what quarterbacks don't do well. I can remember being with a quarterback one time. They used to always call for it. I want to run this football play. I like it a lot. And you call it for him, and he reads it wrong and throws interception. So it's not only doing what the guy does really well, but also knowing, he doesn't. That's not what he does very well. So eliminating the things that quarterbacks don't do well, doing the things they do very well. And so another year with Drew Brown and Tommy Condell should be really good. Now, what I'd like to see, running the football a little bit more with William Stanback to help them make sure that Drew Brown doesn't have to put the ball as much, get a little bit more play action.
Caleb Evans 8 for 11 for 111 yards in that touchdown pass. As a backup to Cody Fajardo. Last year, Davis Alexander had pulled ahead on the depth this year as their #1 quarterback. And don't forget McLeod Bethel Thompson. A Sante on the return for Ottawa now with the REDBLACKS trailing by 10 again. A good spin and more yardage for Asante as he works his way up to about the 38.
You mentioned McLeod Bethel Thompson.
First, we're going to mention Super Team Canada, though, because we're talking about saving the world with poutine, Lapo, hockey pucks, and the power of ice. Super Team Canada's here, the new animated series for adults starring Will Arnett and Kobe Smulders is streaming now. That's only on Crave.
Is it wrong for me to say I'm not a Putin person?
You're not?
Not a Putin person. No.
Poutine. Poutine.
I don't know. They say in Ottawa it's Putin, right?
Putin?
I don't know.
Okay. I'd be saying poutine myself. First and 10, Ottawa 38. It's Alouettes. Carry him down close to a touchdown, which was capped off by Matthew Schultz the last time they had the ball. And Alouettes is getting his touches, part of what we called a three-headed monster of running backs for the Argos the last couple of years, or last year.
And Byron Vaughn's breaks through here. What's he do? Lifts the leg, makes a miss. So, there is a lot of good things about Alouettes from Bryant College a couple of years ago in the draft. I'm a big fan of what he does.
The 2nd and 3 at the Ottawa 45. Not quite. Going to be a little bit shy here.
Yeah, really good stop by Montreal defense here. 2nd and short. Didn't put them in any position and almost lost yardage. Probably going to force a punt here.
Late getting started here at TD Place in Ottawa because of a lightning storm. Close to an hour delay, but nearly through the first quarter of the final preseason game for the Ottawa REDBLACKS and the Montreal Alouettes. just 3 seconds on the clock until quarter time, and Ottawa's in a punting situation now. True fans, Lapo.
Unfortunately, that attire has shown up in Ottawa a lot the last couple of years.
Yeah, get out the rain ponchos, high snap. Leone, no problem.
Great kick.
For Travis Tice. A couple of big returns so far, standing back at the 10. What's he going to do here? Up around the 25, so tack on 15 more return yards for Tice as the first quarter comes to an end. The Alouettes benefited from very good field position a couple of times early. Took the lead and then ended up marching down after an Ottawa touchdown and picking up another one. Schultz has one. Montreal has a lead. Through one quarter of this preseason game in Ottawa, the Alouettes with a 10-point lead. Caleb Evans, some good passing numbers, led a nice drive the last time out, Lapo, and I would think with all the quarterbacks in Montreal, he's feeling the pressure, the competition right now.
Yeah, 8 of 11, 111 yards, rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown. Yeah, Caleb's got a couple years in the system, and what happens is McLeod Bethel-Thompson was brought in to be the number 2. So now Caleb's sitting there as the number 3, but sometimes GMs will start going, well, wait a minute, he's not going to be the 2, he's number 3. Do we have somebody younger, more inexpensive, somebody who can maybe save us some salary cap room that we believe in, maybe better than Caleb Evans? But Caleb Evans saying, no, I'm the guy. I'm going to be here. You can trust that I'm going to, if there's injuries, I'm going to step in a game and help you win.
He had been the backup, Lapo, to Cody Fajardo last year, kind of a turning point against Saskatchewan when he got hurt or taken out of the game, and Davis Alexander, the number 3, came on and made quite an impression. He's now number 1 in Montreal, and we do have a quarterback change as Evans is out, and James Morgan from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Who do you think he cheered for growing up? Here's Morgan, second year with the Owls trying out. He spent some time in the practice roster. He completes his first pass of this game to the fullback, Jacob Mason.
Yeah, FIU for James Morgan. I remember him coming out in college. I remember watching him and evaluating him. Bigger body guy, had a good career at Florida International. Kind of bounced around in a number of spots in the NFL, but he's, again, somebody they've had in the organization saying, can he be the next guy for us? And when you talk about Davis Alexander, you're right. Caleb Evans in that Saskatchewan game was struggling. Davis Alexander went in, they went right down the field and scored touchdowns, and Davis took over that job.
And now James Morgan competing for a spot and throwing again, completing again, up close to the 40 and a first down. A couple of plays for the Alouettes. Yeah, we're 16 now, but being from Green Bay and the era that he grew up in, what do you think his numbers were? He had 2 of them.
Very decisive decision right here. Sees the defense separate. He takes the inside throw, recognizes immediately, throws it immediately. Love it. Good anticipation, quick throw.
So back in the Brett Favre days, he wore number 4.
Right.
And then he had a little switch once Aaron Rodgers went. So, hey, he wore 12 for a while. 4 plus 12. He's got 16 now, his number. And in now up to the 39 and a first and 10. Stevie Scott still in this game and picks up about a yard. So a second and long coming up.
You know, McLeod Bethel-Thompson, I want to keep talking about that. I love that signing for them, for Montreal. Bringing him in gives everything I heard from the coaches in Edmonton last year. They said McLeod was outstanding for Trey Ford. Helped him in so many ways.
The veteran presence for the young quarterback.
And like even there was a story one time that said when Trey was taking over, McLeod said, I'm going to talk less because you need to be the leader of the room. I think that type of veteran leadership is going to be great for the Montreal Alouettes.
James Morgan on 2nd and 9 gets rid of it to the right, and it is dropped. It's Jose Barbone. Had in his hands, hits the turf, and Montreal will be punting.
Quick decision, sees the underneath throw, everybody lifts. I like these throws by James Morgan. He makes a decision quickly, gets the ball out of his hands. That should be a first down.
Instead, a third here in the second quarter. By the way, it's slick conditions, and it was last Saturday in Montreal when they were playing through the rain. And back to punt it away is Joshua Sloan for Asante, standing back at his 25. Next week, Ottawa opens the season in Saskatchewan. Montreal will open at home against the Argos inside the 20. Asante. And not much doing there. Good special teams work after that 50-yard punt. Remember, 49. Gabriel Lazard. A look at the draft class for the Ottawa REDBLACKS in 2025, led by Keelan White. Second straight year, Lapo, that Ottawa used their first pick to take a receiver. A good one he is from Montana.
Watching him in the draft, Rod, the thing he did the best, I thought, of all the draft players, was he plucked the ball. He caught the ball with his hands and was able to, really, some guys have great ability to snatch the ball out of the air. He did that well. Great short space quickness. Not the fastest guy, but he can make plays with the ball in his hand.
And that pass is knocked away.
You know, sometimes you don't need a huge 40. You need to be able to put your foot in the ground and then go. There's the high hands catch. He caught everything you saw on tape. He's got enough speed to run by people, but not certainly the Bernie one, but I thought he could change direction as good as anybody in the league, and his hand-eye coordination to make catches was spectacular. It's a good draft pick for him. They got Nick Martiner last year as a big player, big play player who's hurt this season. So, yes, now Keelan should come in and be able to be that slot player they're looking for.
Dustin Crum is the quarterback for Ottawa. Had that previous pass knocked away. This one is complete, but well shy of a first down. The Alouettes have that covered up nicely. Christian McFarland. So Dustin Crum, who started a lot of games for the REDBLACKS 2 years ago with all the quarterback injuries, but did not have one start. Got some playing time last year, but not a start for Ottawa. In now. And standing back for the punt, Noah Getman did a lot of the punting duties last week in Montreal. And that one, Tice is nowhere to go, but a flag is out back where the punt by Getman took place. It's around the line of scrimmage for the REDBLACKS.
Holding while the ball is in flight. Montreal number 32 will go back 10 yards from the point of possession. It's going to be first down for Montreal.
So Taiwan Mullen is called for the hold. And speaking of the draft boards, the Alouettes went with an offensive lineman in the first round, and that was 5th overall. Tiger Shanks, they really like this guy, and this is a possibility. Strong one here. Last week he played some right tackle, some guard, and they had an opening in the guard spot. Looks like Donald Ventrelli right now, but who knows? This young player has made an impression.
Christian Matt leaving, going to the BC Lions staff after a long career. Yeah, Shanks is a very good young football player. I loved him in the draft. You know, he had great feet, Rod. And as an offensive lineman, you got to have the ability to change direction, use your feet. Your feet get you out of bad decisions, Rod. And what does that mean is you got to be in a position where I can make sure I can get off on blocks and work to the second level. And for a big guy, his feet were good. He has long arms. He's got the ability. You always talk about tackles playing using their long arms and everything. I think he's a tackle in this league more so than a guard.
Playing tackle tonight. Had a lot of time to tackle last week in Montreal too. Tiger Shanks. There's Barbone.
Yeah, you could see that catch. You see that last play. There are two players coming off the edge. He put his hand out, tried to block one on the inside part, and then he took the one on the outside. He knew two were coming, tried to do his best to take both of them. But again, you got to have guys at the tackle position that have some length. He played with length in watching him on the draft film. He's got to get a little bit better in the run game. That's why he might be a better tackle. But I thought that was a great pick by the Owls to get Tiger Shanks.
Had a good collegiate career at UNLV, born in Vancouver, raised in Oregon. Tiger Shanks, Montreal's top draft pick in 2025. Back with the punt, Joshua Sloan. And on the return for the REDBLACKS, taken down at the 35 is Asante. That's a nicer night in the nation's capital after all that rain. 17-7 Montreal, second quarter. The French Open continues tomorrow from Roland Garros with early round coverage. It gets underway at 5 a.m. Eastern. Get up early, watch some tennis. 2 a.m. Pacific time on TSN and TSN Plus. Always an interesting tournament on the clay in Paris. And as mentioning earlier, true fans coming to a preseason game in the rain, sticking it out. And watching this, the Alouettes leading by 10. Jalen Samuels, the running back, in now for Ottawa, with Dustin Crum in at quarterback. Yeah, mentioning Crum, Lapo, and just the depth of experience now, because this is the third year for Crum, who got spot duty with the injuries to Drew Brown last year. Did not have a start, but was really thrown in the fire 2 years ago. And after all the injuries they had, Jeremiah Masoli ended up playing a good chunk of the season.
Yeah, very similar to what happened to Caleb Evans, Dustin Crum going in. Obviously, Dustin Crum can use his legs. He just has to prove that he can be a better drop back passer when the situation arises that he has to throw the football.
2nd and 8. Crum loves to take off. We learned a lot about that 2 years ago from Kent State, and he made his mark in the CFL with his legs, and it's Christian McFarland in on the tackle there.
Very talented player at Kent State. I can remember actually driving my family back from a trip to New York City and speaking to him and recruiting him, actually saying, hey, good luck in the NFL. Whatever happens, we think there's a place for you up here in the Canadian Football League. I think you'll love it up here, and I think you've got tools to play in this league. So I remember trying to recruit him.
Looks like some trouble with the ball. And it is Nate Boschman, one of the Alouettes' top draft picks, who picks it up. The former Calgary Dino. And it looked like trouble with the exchange for Crum in that short yardage. Something did not look right. That ball had come loose. And from 118 into the hands of another, and Montreal football, thanks to that turnover.
Yeah, so you're under center. You're doing a quarterback sneak under center. Sometimes ball's wet. Maybe you haven't had a lot of reps of it. Ball snaps out. Boschman's right there to make the play. Really good by the defense of Montreal. Once again, this is a team that flourished taking the football away under Noel Thorpe the last couple of years. So nice takeaway to once again create a short field for the Owls offense.
James Morgan leading that offense too. It's inside the Ottawa 40, up by 10, looking for more. Whistles with the snap of the ball.
Time count violation, Montreal number 16. The 5-yard penalty will replay first down.
You know, one of the conversations you're always having with these young quarterbacks as you walk out on the field is like, okay, to your right, going in this direction is your 20-second clock. This is where the two are. Make sure you, once you see that, you would go to a code word, Rod. You would say, hurry, hurry, hurry. You're going to change the snap count and call it faster as this 20-second clock goes. It's a different deal for some of these quarterbacks come up from other places because the 20-second clock happens fast.
So Morgan again quickly inside the 40. And that one is caught as Tyjon Lindsey, who had a touchdown in the first quarter.
Quick throw, get the ball to your hands, get some positive yardage. Just make sure you're not sitting at 2nd and 15. So now you're sitting at 2nd and 10. Much easier opportunity to convert here. Also gets them in a little bit of better position for a field goal. So good, productive first down play.
Morgan to Lindsey to get the penalty yardage back. 2nd and 10 at the Ottawa 39. Halfway through the second quarter. 4-man rush. Morgan running out of time, and down he goes. Sacked. And that's Blessman Tahala. He wore number 51 with the Red Blacks last year, global player, and he picks that one up.
Tahala, the player, the coaches really like Tahala. You see him right here. Wins on the pass rush. As Morgan starts to move to his left, starts to scramble, that's a great bull rush. And he benches the offense lineman off him, sees the quarterback scramble, puts his right arm out, makes the play. So nice. And the biggest thing he did is he bull rushed straight back, created a new line of scrimmage on the offensive guard, and was able to get to the quarterback.
So Victor and Asante at either sides of the field now, leaving the middle wide open here for the punter Sloan, who puts it off to the right. For Asante, who breaks the tackle, gets up across the 20, and a flag comes out on a punt again. Blessman Tahala takes Morgan down. Red Blacks down 10. 6 minutes to go until halftime. And his first year as head coach of the Alouettes, Jason Maas won the Grey Cup. Second year, first place in the East, only to be knocked off in the Eastern Final. Year 3 about to begin. Let's go back to Matthew.
Yeah, and I don't think, Rod, that Jason Maas is looking particularly at that East Final and the disappointment of having a full audience and then not going ahead and capitalizing on the situation they had against the Argos. The one thing that Jason Maas spoke to me before the game about is the sense of respect that runs through the organization. And we talked about this a few years ago when he had his players basically stand up during training camp and say their name and then say something that they know in French. And a lot of the conversation that happens within the Alouettes organization, a lot of people speak to each other. The one thing that they keep speaking to each other in French, you know, salut, bon matin, comment ça va, bonne journée, and that is important to Jason Maas. But it also touches on this sense of competition. And before this game tonight, there's so many new faces on the depth chart. Jason Maas did show a video of Dylan Wynn, the 11-year veteran who played in the NFL and won a Grey Cup with the Argos and then played with the Ticats and now with the Alouettes, and the level of compete that he had last week in their first preseason game. And Jason Maas said, yes, so much of what we do here is about respect, but that respect is rooted in competition. When you're on the field, you respect yourself enough and respect the process to be that invested in the competition, because competition is our livelihood, Rob.
And what success he's had, Matthew, with Montreal so far. Crum is under pressure. He tried that deep shot in the previous play to Latrell Jones, who went incomplete. And then he is sacked. So Maas's offense should be getting the ball back in good field position, as the Red Blacks are going to have to punt it away from the end zone.
Yeah, I think Jason's done a really good job at, talking about respecting the process. He always talked about that, like making sure, hey, we come in every day, we're working to get better. And again, you got to respect the process. You got to respect coming into the building each and every day to do your best, working at a week-to-week basis. Done a really excellent job pairing Danny Machocha and him together.
Noah Getman, the punt, and it is Travis Tice back at midfield and taken down just inside the Ottawa zone. 56-yard punt, Richie Leone. Montreal Alouettes last 5 seasons. Well, back in 19, the Alouettes lost in the playoffs to Jason Maas and Edmonton. And they were 7-7 in 21. Danny Machocha stepped in to coach in 22 before Maas took over. What a year in 23. Upsetting the Argos, beating Winnipeg in the Grey Cup last year. Best CFL team in the regular season, but the Argos returned the favor in the East Final in Montreal last November.
Yeah, and you got to hand it to General Manager Danny Machocha. When he took over that team, fired a popular Kahari Jones, but thought they could get better, brought in Noel Thorpe immediately, and then Jason Maas after the season, and it's turned out very well for him.
James Morgan, the throw, and it is intended there for VC, Jordan VC, the intended target, but it goes incomplete. See the running back Travis Tice now, and stayed in to block. Saw him on special teams earlier. The receiving core for the Alouettes, of course, including Tyson Philpott, who was having such a good season last year before he was injured. Austin Mack, Charleston Rambo, Cole Speaker, Tyler Sneed. Lots of experience now, the Owls in the receiving core. And it's caught there inside the 50, still shy of a first down. That's VC again.
That receiving core you're talking about, Rod, that receiving core led the CFL in explosive plays. You're going to see just another quick in as everybody clears out. The underneath coverage lifts, take the underneath throw. Hopefully you can turn and run with it and get the yardage needed. So now you're at a 3rd and 2.5, long one.
Timeout.
Take a timeout and see what they want to do here.
Exactly what they do with that 10-point lead and getting closer to 3 minutes left until halftime. We'll head back and get some thoughts from the panel then.
And, when you talk about that, I think about last year, Montreal, I used to call these guys short shots. Very short throws underneath, Rod, to get first downs, and then here comes a shot play. And they were 30-plus completions, CFL, big plays, 36 of them, best in the Canadian Football League. So Tyson Philpott got behind the defense at times after they lulled them to sleep with some of their short control passes. passing game. That was the key to them. They were an explosive offense when they needed to be, taking those shots downfield, and they threw touchdowns and not interceptions.
That Grey Cup a couple of years ago was really a coming of age for a lot of those receivers too. Of course, Phil Pott, Cole Speaker with that big catch in the
3rd and 5. Yep.
Tyler Snead, Austin Mack, who opened the way for Charleston Rambo to start last year with Mack away in the NFL. Travis Tice, the running back right now. 3:24 in the clock until halftime. Morgan over the middle and up for it and bringing it down on that catch, and a nice one it is for Vesey. Jordan Vesey with the grab there and a first down for the Owls.
Yeah, big target, throwing the ball in the middle of the field. A little high by Morgan here. But Vesey makes a great play. Ball's a little bit behind him. He uses high hands, gets his eyes up to see this football. Vesey making a great play right in the middle of the field with Reed all over him. Put him in field goal range right now. So good call on 3rd and 2.5 going for it.
So first down. And off to the side and caught, but lost yardage on that catch by Lindsay. It's Reed coming in. Kenyon Reed, ex-Calgary Stampeder. 3-minute warning. 2:45 in the clock. We'll be back.
We have a great halftime coming your way. We'll chat Davis Alexander with MBT behind him and the addition of Gino Lewis in Ottawa. And by the way, can we give a shout out to these fans in the nation's capital who stuck out that rain delay and are currently watching this football game? I don't know what we should get them. We should get them a present or something. But well done, Brandon. Well done.
Well put, Kate. Big fans. By the way, slight amendment on that weather promise. We'll get to that for a sec. Looking deep. End zone no good. That's looking for Lindsay again, and very close to another Montreal touchdown. He had one in the first quarter.
When you have a quarterback, you're seeing, can he recognize pictures? You're going to see a seam. You're going to see one player low, one player in the deep third. You throw the seam ball when you have a low player. Morgan sees it. He just misses it a little bit. You can see it right here. Bending in. He recognizes the picture immediately. He throws it between the two defenders. It's just a little short, trying to get it to Lindsay. But that was a great read. So I'm seeing great things from this quarterback he's trying to show that I can process information and put the ball downfield as a thrower.
With a field goal try coming up, and it is wide the left. Asante with it. And he's bringing it out. And he gets knocked down there by the kicker. It was Joshua Hutley.
And that's an interesting conversation, Rob. We've got Dustin Crum playing right now. We've got Caleb Evans. Morgan's trying to say, I'm a thrower. The safety went that way. There's the space. I'm going to see it. He saw it early, recognized the picture. He's trying to prove, like, I can take all the shots, throw the ball. I can throw the ball like my offensive coordinator, Anthony Calvillo, put the ball in tight windows. Compared to, the other two guys playing in this game, a little bit more the scrambler types, where this guy looks to be a pure thrower, makes decisions, gets the ball out of his hand quickly. So I like his vision. Just got to make some of those throws.
It was their rookie safety, Eric Cumberbatch, number 15, that was bearing down on Lindsay, too, as he was reaching out for that football. So Morgan reviewing things.
Very good draft pick, Eric Cumberbatch, from local Ottawa boy, long-armed safety. Expecting to play special teams for this unit this year. Possibly be on the roster.
5th round pick. Ottawa 13. 2.5 minutes to go until halftime. And Crum. And off to the right. Complete. And that is a first down as well. And that's Elijah Collins with the catch.
Plenty of time here. 2:16. Dustin sees pictures. Out in the flat. See Collins. Everybody lifts, throws the underneath throw. Out of bounds. Get up the line of scrimmage. Get ready to play.
From the 28, and Crum, and handing off that time to Collins. Back-to-back touches for him, but that one's going nowhere. 2nd and long is coming up.
Christian McFarland blitzing off the edge. Offensive line misses it. Loss of 2 there to make it 2nd and long.
As mentioned, this is one of 4 CFL preseason games tonight. It's all getting done tonight. And then next week, next Thursday, a shorter week for the REDBLACKS as they'll play next Thursday night to open up the season against the Riders, who are also playing tonight at home against Winnipeg to finish their preseason. Flushed out, Crum takes off, close to a first down, looks like he's got it. Seen that many times in his time in the CFL, the willingness to run for Dustin Crum, and effective there for a gain of 14.
Hardest thing for a defense to do is when you got a guy lined in sights and you let him run around and take off. When you play zone coverage, you're trying to cover down the deep zones. There's a twist, they lose contain. Defensive line lose contain. Noel Thorpe's not going to be happy. They lost contain on the perimeter on this mobile quarterback. They want to keep him in the pocket, make him a throw.
Empty backfield now with 4 off to the left and 2 to the right, and throwing to the right, coming in. And a catch right there for
you talked about
8 yards.
You talked about a short week.
Victor.
You talked about a short week, and that's what I find a little bit frustrating. And I know, like, so we have this team and we have the Saskatchewan Roughriders that play tonight, and then cuts happen tomorrow, Rod. So tomorrow the team's got to be cut by tomorrow. The following day is the first day of practice for both Ottawa and the Riders. So, like, I don't really love that they're playing on a short week to start a football season. I wish there was a way that should never happen. You would like it not to happen for players, coaches, everybody.
That's Collins again on the carry on that second and short, and looks like he should have enough getting up to the 50. Another Ottawa first down indeed.
And that's, this being a short week, when this schedule came out and you knew it was going to be a short week, week 1, you knew that none of these Red-Black starters were going to step into the football game. It was going to be a young team. Normally your home game, your starters play, that wasn't going to happen because they don't want any of their players to be not fresh for the short week of practice and go. And that's a hard thing to cut a team and then practice the next day.
Elijah Collins stays in the block, but too much pressure coming in there on Dustin Crum is number 52. That's Willington Prevalon. Or excuse me, Vaughn's in on that. There's Prevalon right there, 52, coming up with the pressure on Crum to take him down.
Yeah, good. Sometimes you're going to play zone and drop multiple people into, you're going to put multiple people in a pressure situation and make the offensive line in a one-on-one situation. Prevalon gets in there, forces a quarterback to move his feet. That's what Dustin Crum's got to show, that I can step in the pocket and been sacked a lot. Is it the O-line? Is it him holding the football is what the team's got to try to figure out.
Loss of 3 on the sack. And nice off completed there to Latrell Jones. And yeah, good open field tackle there for the Alouettes and Don Callis to limit the damage, and a third down coming up here for the REDBLACKS.
Just heard great things about Callis' ability to run. Player from Troy, first year. This is hard. You've got all this space. You've got 12 yards to the sideline. He's got to come up, make the tackle. Good tackle there. If he doesn't make that tackle with the width of his field, they can get around it. So nice play on the perimeter, trying to show what he can do as a field corner.
Noah Getman to punt again. Travis Tice back inside the Alouette 10, now standing on the 5-yard line. Under half a minute to go until halftime. Tice, one big return, a 31-yarder that set up the Alouette offense nicely. That ended up scoring on that one, so pretty productive first half for him in the return department. 14 seconds to go as the Alouette offense comes back on, and Tice stays on. Caleb Evans started at quarterback for Montreal, and James Morgan in now. Get a glimpse of Rick Campbell there, by the way. See him on the sideline back in Ottawa as the special teams coordinator for Bob Dice. They had reverse rules when Campbell was last year, up until 2019. As Morgan just takes a knee, as the clock ticks down to 12. Bob Dice, been with the organization now close to a decade. 2016, his first year when Campbell was head coach, and Dice was the special teams coordinator, and they won the Grey Cup that year in 16. And it's halftime. James Morgan heading up. But I asked you what you wanted to see as a coach, and there's some performances here that.
Yeah, some good throws downfield, and Caleb Evans is trying to say, hey, listen, I'm the guy. Keep me here. I'm going to be your guy. Yeah. A couple nice touchdowns by him using his legs. James Morgan seeing pictures, getting the ball out of his hands. So you're trying to see Montreal's trying to show, hey, we got some good young players in the organization.
Let's get some thoughts now from the Alouettes head coach, Jason Moss, with Matthew.
Yeah, Coach, I know there are always teachable moments in every single game, especially preseason game, but I imagine you like the level of compete in some situations, particularly when they were going after the ball and getting those fumble recoveries.
Yeah, absolutely. We started right off with a turnover. All three phases right now are playing physical football. That's what we asked them to do. They're coming out and doing it. High-level execution, 17 points on the board, and everybody's contributing.
How much do you enjoy this part of the year to see the kind of guys that you're bringing into your organization and judging whether or not they're going to contribute to what you're building here?
Yeah, I love it. I think our guys enjoy it as well. I mean, we bring everybody at the beginning of training camp. You all work together for this moment, for these guys to have an opportunity to make our team, make us better as a football team. And tonight, is a one last showcase for them, but it's definitely been a great training camp, and excited about them finishing this game off right.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, Kate. Well, the Owls are up 10. I wish I could tell you there's not weather in and around TD Place, but there was some thunder before both teams went off to the locker room. Oh, boy.
Like this live on television. You see, Rod Smith promised me there'd be no more weather delays ever again in the CFL season. So we're going to rack that clip back and make sure that it is correct. Back alongside Enoch Mwamba and Davis Sanchez. Hopefully that weather gets out of the way in halftime with the Alouettes currently up by 10. And let's stick with the Owls right now. And we look, of course, at Davis Alexander. And look, last season he filled in for Cody Fajardo. Obviously, when he went down for injury, he was a perfect 5-0. But now he gets to be the face of this franchise. And there's a lot of pressure on this young man now. They kept the majority of the team moving forward, but expectations for him, very high, Enoch.
Absolutely. Expectations are high because he performed so well last year. You talk about a guy like Cody Fajardo. This was the previous MVP the last time they won a Grey Cup. And the fact that they were able to make a decision to keep the young Davis Alexander for him, it speaks to how high they think of him. But what I also like about his journey is the fact that he hasn't been put in this position with a lot of pressure. He had time to grow with it. He had great quarterbacks ahead of him. He saw a winning Grey Cup team as well, so he knows what it takes to get there. So for him to be in this situation right now, I think he's going to be poised.
Look at this board. The only Davis. Is that a shot?
Wow. Wow.
Someone's coming for you. Anyway, he is the only Davis in Montreal right now. Look, think about pressure and think about decisions that staffs have to make and organizations have to make. Cody Fajardo won a Grey Cup less than 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So it's not a no-brainer to move on to Davis Alexander, although most people think that's the right move, including myself. The upside for Davis Alexander is there. I think he's the guy that has the highest upside, but it's still, when a guy wins a Grey Cup for you less than 2 years ago, there is some pressure. The great thing for this offense is they're returning their whole receiver. They get everybody back. Yeah. So Davis Alexander, who has all his weapons back, I think, and of course, Philpott being healthy is a big deal. This defense, Sean Oakman, looks like Mustafa Johnson is banged up. He might, if he's not their best defensive player, he's right behind that guy, Beverett, as their second best defensive player. The fact that he's banged up makes that Oakman signing even better now. They have Sean Oakman over there. So, again, the key to the offseason for Montreal, continuity.
Exactly.
They got everybody back.
Yeah, and you look at some of these other teams, too, and just like the differences defensively for the Toronto Argonauts, for example, but you look at Montreal and still around Beverett in that defense. I mean, you got to love it if you're a Montreal fan, but we'll see what Davis Alexander has in store. Montreal currently up by 10.
Vibe check, what's the temperature? The forecast looks hot, here's a tip for you. We got everything you need, did I fail to mention? If you can't stand the heat, I'm a known winner, natural born leader. Call me the people's champ, cause I give it to the people, and the people wanna have it, cause the people know they need it. When it comes to the vibe, I am undefeated. Celebrate, sleep, wake up, and repeat it. Celebrate, sleep, wake up, and repeat it. That's how it goes. If you don't understand, gotta let you know.
4 preseason games this evening. Here is one of the other ones. It is Tiger Cats and the Argonauts. Second quarter action still scoreless. Hamilton in the red zone. Taylor Powell going to find Keaton Brugling over the middle for a 15-yard TD. Brugling making a good impression with Hamilton after spending the last 3 seasons with Ottawa. 7-0 Tiger Cats. Third quarter action we go. Now 7-3 Hamilton. Powell checks it down to guess who? Rugling again. He makes a man miss before punching it in. Second TD of the game gives the Ticats a 14-3 lead, but the Argonauts have stormed back in this game, currently 17-17. And oh my goodness, we are less than a week away. Thursday Night Football, the opener of the CFL season. You can see it 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific on TSN. I heard a rumor that we may be there in Regina, but I don't have any confirmation just yet. Enoch, let's look at these Ottawa REDBLACKS for a moment. And look, the biggest news by far was the signing of Gino Lewis and what's going to happen to this offense. We have William Stanback as well now. But for Eugene Lewis, and I mean, you look at what happened in Edmonton, and I get it, and it obviously was a bit of a messy exit. He still has something to prove. And if he can get back to that way he was playing back in 2022 with the Montreal Alouettes, then this is going to be a very nice cornerstone of the offense.
Absolutely. I spent a little bit of time with Eugene Lewis this past offseason, and he seems like he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he wants to prove to the whole league that he still got it. And for him to come to this Ottawa REDBLACKS team where they had a decent season, especially with having Drew Brown as a first-time starter, he played really well. He managed the offense very well. He showed that he understands, and he's poised in certain situations as well. Second year in the system is going to be great to see him, and adding a guy like Gino Lewis is going to be tremendous for him. And one of the things that they really needed to do, Chaz, was score touchdowns. And one thing Gino does is score touchdowns.
Can this offense evolve? I think Drew Brown, I think all involved first-year starter would say he had a passing grade last year. I guess the question is, can they match what Toronto can do offensively, what this Montreal team can do? At the end of the day, that's what's going to matter. Obviously, we're in the preseason. That's not where we have to go quite yet, but that's how they're going to be measured. How will they do against those other powerful offenses? Drew was great last year for his first year as a starter, but can this offense evolve to be? Yeah, they need to take that next step with Justin Hardy. With Gino, I think they have a shot.
Well, and I'm with you, too. It'll come down to this defense. We'll see if Darius Pickett hopefully fully healthy. And Lorenzo Mold, I know you're going to go on Lozo the entire time, but Ottawa right there, and we'll see if they can make another run this year. By the way, I mean, everyone's talking about the weather. That looks like a beautiful shot right now of TD Place. Come on, Mother Nature. Help us out here.
Speak it.
Halftime, TD Place in Ottawa, and it's the Alouettes leading the REDBLACKS 17-7 in this final preseason game. Look at the halftime stats.
The biggest thing is Jason Moss talked about a couple of takeaways. Early in the game, Vincent Delisle makes a great recovery after a huge hit. Nate Boschman gets a takeaway. Travis Tice do a little bit of punt returns to create some short fields for Caleb Evans to score 2 touchdowns. And looking forward to seeing some other guys in the second half.
Let's hear Lapo now from Bob Dice standing by with Matthew.
Coach, I was just asking Coach Moss about this, about how much he enjoys this time of year, particularly a game like this. Where do you stand, knowing that you want to measure the level of compete that you have from guys who are really fighting for jobs?
Yeah, that's what I told him at halftime. You know, very excited for this second half to see these guys come out. They've got 30 minutes of opportunity to come out and show exactly what they have. And so excited for this second half.
So what do you look at your quarterback position in this situation, and how are you going to evaluate what quarterback plays and what scenarios to put them in?
No, we had a plan coming in, and so we knew we wanted to take a look at Dusty and Tyrese, so you'll see a lot of them in the second half.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Dustin Crum, who's already got into action in the second quarter, and referring to Tyree Adams as well. They signed to a new deal last year, but has played sparingly in his time in the Canadian Football League. We're going to get a chance in this preseason game where the Alouettes. REDBLACKS won the first preseason game in Montreal last Saturday. It's Jason Moss's team leading the way here,
and I think, Rod, you're seeing, you know, Tyree Adams going to get a lot of time in Dustin Crum, because with Matthew Schiltz coming in the building, Drew Brown their starter, you know, which one of these two guys do they keep? Are they going to keep both of these guys around, or is one of them going to be a casualty after they've seen him for a couple of years?
It's Lincoln Victor, the kickoff returner. That kick there from the Alouettes, and Boyer. So it is Dustin Crum still at quarterback for Ottawa in this one. We'll see Tyree Adams a little bit later. Crum 4 for 6 for 35 yards. He's Also taken off and run a couple of times, 3 carries, 15 yards.
And it's really hard to call this game right now. Not hard, but like you just have to have a good plan of attack because you're starting to put younger offensive linemen in. You still want to evaluate your quarterbacks. You got to get the ball out of their hands quickly, like you see right here in this quick screen pass. So the linemen can't hurt the quarterback's opportunity because sometimes these linemen just don't have a lot of experience in this game.
Elijah Collins' lapo that bobbled that one, swung out there by Crum, so incomplete. And Ottawa dodged some trouble there. A 2nd and 10 coming up. After this preseason game, right across the league, final cuts. They set the rosters. The regular season begins next week for the Red Blacks. It'll begin in Regina. That'll be the season opener next Thursday. And for the Alouettes, they're at home against the defending champion Argonauts. Coming in, knocking that away, and a flag coming out. It is Victor, the intended receiver, but the penalty coming up here against Montreal. That'll be Deshaun Gaddy Jr. Flag for that.
Pass interference, Montreal number 30. It's going to be a 10-yard penalty. Automatic first down for Ottawa.
Yeah, Deshaun just comes over the top. They're in man coverage. A little bit of a pressure. You'll see at the right of your screen coming in here. Dustin Crum takes the underneath throw. You can see the tug there on the left. The body, you can't impede the receiver like that. So it gives a new set of downs. Deshaun Gaddy on that pull and tug right there.
So first down on penalty. Play action fake. Crum with time. And coming across for it, but it is too far. That's intended for Andre Miller to catch in the first half. Incomplete, 2nd down.
Same play early that Matthew Schultz completed. Coming across the field on what you call a climb route to get across the field. Just a little bit high there by Dustin. Force him in another 2nd and long, 2nd straight time. You see the frustration missing the wide open receiver.
And Collins, the running back, is out. Asante, who we've seen returning kicks, is in. There's Miller, intended target. And for Dustin Crum, down by 10, early 2nd half. This Friday night in Ottawa in late May. And that one completed. Nate Beauchemin of the Alouettes hauling Asante down. Mentioned Beauchemin, and they like him. Drafted him high as he gets the start at linebacker tonight. He was taken in the 2nd round, 14th overall. The President's Trophy winner is top defensive player in Canadian University football last year.
I thought he would fit this organization very well. Why? Right, because he had 3 pick sixes in the season and just spectacular football player. And, you know, I think a team that took the ball away as well as this Alouette defense, I think he'll fit right in and play a number of spots close to the box. Play a little bit off the ball if they need to as a high safety, but also close to the box like he's playing tonight.
Travis Dice, another punt return for the Alouettes. They have the ball. They have the lead. James Morgan coming out again as quarterback for Montreal. Back here with Paul Lapalese, one of 3 coaches in the history of the Ottawa REDBLACKS. The other 2 working the game tonight. And not only Bob Dice, but Rick Campbell, the original coach of the REDBLACKS. There he is, and back as special teams coordinator now for
Well, funny story. A couple weeks ago, I met Coach Dice as a friend of mine, and Rick Campbell. We all went to dinner, and we were down at an establishment down here in TD Place, and somebody came up and said, hey, there's all 3 REDBLACKS coaches in the history. So, good to get Rick back in the city.
And for many years, of course, with the BC Lions, after leaving the REDBLACKS, the penalty on that intention there for Jalen Wayne. REDBLACKS flagged it as C.J. Colden.
Pass interference, Ottawa number 36. It's going to be first down for Montreal at the spot of foul.
Looked like a good play, but let's see if we have another angle and see if Colden used his hands. Just a throw on the outside. You'll see that one-on-one matchup on the outside of the top of your screen. Run him out of his back pedal. Throw a throw behind. Maybe that his left hand a little bit got a little close.
And with the penalty, so that is to Lindsay. Another catch for him up close to midfield. But mentioning Rick Campbell, the original coach of the Red Blacks after 2019 left, and you ended up taking over the head coaching job. He went to the BC Lions, but interesting dynamic to come back to the same city, same team, but now as an assistant.
Yeah, a funny thing people would say to me, especially when Rick was hired, said, geez, you know, he was the head coach there. Why would he go back? Why would he go to a back place he was a head coach?
You did.
And I did the same thing. I went back as an offense coordinator in Winnipeg. Previously, I was a head coach. But what people don't understand is Rick Campbell's a passionate football coach.
Yeah.
He loved the city of Ottawa. And this is a league with 9 football teams. Yeah. And if you want to be a position coach or a coordinator, there's only 15 jobs. So you can't turn down so many jobs. You want to coach, you got to find a place. Why wouldn't he come back to a place where he's got a great relationship with his head coach, loves the city? So I think it was a no-brainer. Gets an opportunity to become coordinator, special teams coordinator, and a team he believes in on the rise.
And a man he knows very well in Bob Dice, working with him. Deep throw, Morgan, intended for BC and a bit too far, so second down. But yeah, I remember you taking as a head coach the Blue Bombers to the Grey Cup in 2011, and later leaving and coming back as the offensive coordinator and winning a Grey Cup later under Mike O'Shea's staff.
Well, you know, you're always trying to figure out nice corner route here. Just a little bit far off for Jordan Veazey. Nice angle, nice high throw there. Yeah, there's not a lot of jobs. The opportunity came up to work with Mike O'Shea, Bob Wiley, Buck Pierce, Kyle Walters, all people I've worked for. I hired Kyle Walters. He gave his first job in the CFL. So you want to go where people, brand new stadium. So I thought there was a lot of positives for me to go there. And, you know, it's a small league with not a lot of opportunities. Rick gets to be a coordinator. He gets to have the one thing special teams coordinators people don't really understand. They have an opportunity to put their hands on. Great throw there and just didn't make the play. The special teams coordinator get their hands on every player on the roster. They get an opportunity to talk and coach everybody because there's so many different components to the special teams. So this is a great hire to bring Rick back into the building.
Yeah, not easy circumstances leaving BC, of course, but he has fond memories of Ottawa, always will, and back working with the Red Blacks again. Of course, the head coach of the Grey Cup champions in 2016 when Bob Dice was on his staff, the special teams coordinator. Punt by the Alouettes here in this third quarter, and just heading out of bounds. Special teams moment, one of many tonight. Rick Campbell and the Red Blacks, they're trailing by 7. The CHL Memorial Cup Final is right around the corner. It's coming up on Sunday. Who will be in it? You can catch all the action Sunday, 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific on TSN. I can tell you the Medicine Hat Tigers are in it. It's either London or Moncton, and in the third period, midway through, London is leading Moncton 3-2, trying to advance to that final that you can see on TSN Sunday, 6:30 Eastern Time. Also, you can see on TSN the debut of the 2025 CFL season starting next Thursday night with Ottawa and Saskatchewan. With the Alouettes later hosting the Argos later in the week. That's Elijah Collins with a good carry there for Ottawa. They start the drive deep in their own zone. 14-yard pickup for the Red Blacks.
This is what you want to do. You're backed up. Create a first down, get yourself out of a backed up situation so you ensure you can punt with a little bit of depth so your defense is, you don't put your defense in a position where the opponent offense can be already in field goal range. Nice run up inside by Collins. Patience on the inside zone play.
Crum still the quarterback. Collins carrying the ball again. Back-to-back solid carries for Elijah Collins. He gets that up across the Ottawa 30, so buying themselves some space in a real hurry here.
Yeah, and for Montreal, this defense led by Noel Thorpe. You know, what I think about this football game, not a lot of opportunities. We got a tempo play. They're going to go real quickly right here and go their no huddle quarterback sneak here. No reason to substitute Rod, put the big people in. You got Dustin Crum, who's your mobile quarterback. Go ahead and do that. But my point, like for Noel Thorpe and company, this is a defense last season gave up the fewest explosive football plays. So they don't give up big plays, and that's what's happened in this football game. There's no explosive plays for the Red Blacks because of how good these guys have been defensively. He's really done that. First in opponent passing TDs, second in pass efficiency. This is a unit that knows how to stop people from getting explosive plays downfield.
Try short yardage again. They get it that time for Crum. Last time in that situation, they just ran a couple of plays now, but there was a trouble with the exchange, and it was led to a turnover for the Alouettes recovering the fumble. But Crum staying in, a couple of cracks at it, and gets the first down.
And, you know, for Dustin Crum, having a series like this and staying on the football field just gets him more opportunities to be evaluated. And all these players, and I would always try to talk to our players in preseason games of, hey, do your best to make the play so you help your teammate get another evaluation. If you get a catch for a first down, that may create another rushing opportunity for one of your teammates who's trying to make the team as a running back. So do your best to help your teammates get as many plays on the field as possible.
From throwing, as you just saw Drew Brown in civvies, looking on, getting ready for the start next week to open up the season. The #1 quarterback. There he is, Brown. And a very good first year as the #1 quarterback with the Ottawa REDBLACKS after learning under Zach Collaros and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for a couple of years before moving on as a free agent.
Yeah, and I think it was important in that game in Winnipeg. I think you called the game where the REDBLACKS beat Winnipeg. Winnipeg had first and goal from the 7-yard line at the end of the game, and they made 3 straight stops and were able to win the football game. And I think that gave them a lot of juice to start the season last year.
That's caught. That's a first down. That's Victor. And then, by the way, that game against Winnipeg you referred to was after a long weather delay right near the end. They finally got that one done.
Quick slant, ball out quickly, beat the man coverage. Good location by Dustin. And I think it's a great drive. Started inside the 10. They're all the way out to their 50-yard line and getting plenty of reps and evaluation for this offense for Coach Dice to look at and evaluate players.
Lincoln Victor, he's been on returns. Second year out of Washington State. It is tossed off, and this time it's back to Collins. Takes that one, and lots of daylight ahead. It's been a good drive for Elijah Collins. Gets it down near the Montreal 20.
Throwing into the blitz, Dustin Crum recognizes it. Sometimes there's a mistake. Some of the younger players, if there's a pressure off the edge, and when you release a receiver, usually one of the blitzers right there off the edge usually comes out and covers the free receiver. Doesn't come out, throws over the top. Nice run by Collins, flipped the field, now back into the score zone.
First year out of Oklahoma State, Elijah Collins. Racking up some yardage on this drive. And a 1st and 10 at the Alouette 23, down by 10. Crum steps up out of the pressure, takes off. Inside the 15, still on his feet. Inside the 10, down to about the 8. Another first down, it's a 1st and goal for Crum and the Ottawa REDBLACKS.
Powerful runner. He's able to stuff breaks down and go. You know, so it's been short passes. This is the thing you got to keep seeing. Now, this is what I'm talking about. There's some offensive line players that are trying to get evaluated, but, you know, Dustin had nowhere to go with the football. You'll see a defensive lineman show up right now, so he's got to take off and go. That's why you see quicker throws, screen passes in the second half as the offensive unit gets younger and younger in the second half of this football game.
Inside the 10, REDBLACKS knocking on the door, and this first down off to the right, too far for Marco Dubois. Get a fingertip on it, but falls incomplete, second down.
This is the best defense in the CFL last year, keeping teams out of the end zone. Opponent red zone touchdown, so you rank and check your defense and see how they do when a team gets into your 20-yard line. Last season, the best. 40% of the time, Montreal gave up a touchdown. Nobody was close to that stat, so they know how to keep you out of the end zone. They don't give up explosives, and when you do give up yardage, they keep them out of the end zone.
Take off again. Now he gets it inside the 5, down to about the 3 before he is stopped. But you've a 3rd and goal now. Preseason football. Is this end zone or bust down by 10 points?
Looks like the kicking team's going to come out and make it a 7-point game.
Got down close. Down stalled around the 3. So yeah, the kicking unit does come out, and Lewis Ward. See if they can get it. Do it in a touchdown.
Hey, Rick Campbell saying, hey, we need to see some film of an extra point. We need to evaluate our extra points. Field goal team.
Well, that team now, pretty slick conditions last week in Montreal in the rain, but they had a couple of placements that went awry, if you will. One that was blocked, an extra point that got blocked after the Devontae Dedmon punt return touchdown, and a botched field goal. Problem with the exchange on that one with the snap to the holder, Richie Leone. So down it goes, and Ward snaps that one right through. 3 more on the board for the Red Blacks. A one-score game, 17-10 Montreal. Third quarter. Back in Ottawa, Rod Smith, Paul LaPolice, Matthew Shinetti for this last preseason game for the Alouettes and the Ottawa Red Blacks. Regular season begins next week. Preseason ends tonight right across the Canadian Football League. This is James Morgan, number 16, the quarterback for the Alouettes. He's got a lot of reps in this one tonight. Caleb Evans was the starter, but I've seen a lot of Morgan starting in that second quarter. And still in and throwing and completing too. Inside the 50, 45 for Jose Barbone, who gets that all the way down to the Ottawa 42.
Zone read, RPO. You're going to see him break out here. There's going to be a curl. There's going to be a guy on the flat from right there. As the defender expands with the flat throw, you'll see there's the curl showing right up. Takes the curl, flips his hips, gets his hips aligned to his target. Really good job. Showing he can use his legs, create first downs.
Morgan's 10 of 15 for 84 yards. He's going to throw again. That one goes to Tice. Travis Tice breaks a tackle, breaks another, keeps his feet. He's still going. Not a bad night for Travis Tice. He shot out in the first half with punt returns, sitting at 31-yarder. And good offensive play for Tice out of the backfield there.
This is a guy trying to make a football team. He's trying to show everybody in the building that I will make the plays when they come to me. 1 broken tackle, 2 broken tackles, 3rd broken tackle, 4th break, 4 broken tackles on him, 1 football play. Spectacular effort, spectacular lower body strength. Keep me in this building. You will not regret me being in this organization.
He has shown some toughness tonight. Travis Tice out of South Dakota. 1st and 10 at the Ottawa 15, end zone look Morgan. For Veazey. Touchdown. Veazey hangs on. Celebrates a CFL preseason TD. Another guy that had an impressive camp and is trying to crack this roster.
The beauty of the Canadian Football League is we got 20-yard end zones, Rod. Makes you defend. So as you get closer, makes you defend the whole width of the field and the depth of the field. Right here, Veazey gets behind. Easy throw, get behind Lamont, DeAndre Lamont, and one-handed makes a great play to go up and get it. Great location. Good recognition by Morgan to see that one-on-one on the perimeter on the outside to the field 2 receiver.
Like the way you put that, from easy to Veazey. And a touchdown for Montreal, and that touchdown pass for James Morgan. Now thrown for 126 yards in this one.
I mean, and James Morgan has showed up and said, hey, listen, I can be a pretty good drop-back thrower. Give me opportunities. I'm going to be able to move the football. I'm going to be able to put the ball in different spots.
Joshua Hutley, the point after. Jordan Veazey. From James Morgan. The Alouettes, they get a 2-score game again. Another touchdown, Montreal. The Montreal Alouettes know all about Gino Lewis. He started his career there, became a big star, and then he left for the Edmonton Elks. A sample of his work last season with Edmonton with 74 catches. He went over 1,000 yards again. Now a member of the Ottawa REDBLACKS as we head back to Matthew Schnitt.
Yeah, Rod, I was just asking about that. It was a big smile on Gino's face, and I imagine, Gino, one of the reasons you're happy is the amount of game breakers you have in almost every single position here. What's camp been like, kind of acclimating to the culture here, but also measuring yourself against some guys like Alonzo Wadai, especially in their secondary?
Yeah, man, it's been amazing, man. Like, just coming to Ottawa and with the REDBLACKS, man, they embraced me so much since I've been here. They practice every day, like, offense and defense. Anytime I make catches, they raising the roof and things. So I'm just really grateful to have some great teammates, man, and just feel really, really appreciated that I'm here.
No one doubts your talent, but at this point in your career, in your early 30s, I know how badly you want to win and how badly you want to win. What are the ingredients here that are going to help not just you, but this this whole team get there?
Yeah, the first thing I would think is motivation, the focus, and just the sense of urgency that we all need to have, man. We all have to understand that as this game keeps getting years after year, it gets harder and harder. So I know, for me, I want to help the young guys, and I'm going to need their help. And just as a team, we all understand the focus and the main goal, and that's the Grey Cup.
Speaking of young guys, I got to take you back to VC's catch right there. I was just asking you before we went on air. Yeah. Put your analyst hat on, Gino. Tell me what you thought about that grab.
That's a hell of a catch, man. I can't even lie. That was a great ball, too. Put it in the back of the corner. But, this is the time right now. This preseason games, man, guys are, playing for their life, man. Things are going to be different for guys tomorrow. And this is the time where you go out here these last 30 minutes, man, and give everything you got to make these teams.
Do you remember when you made your mark on this league? Can you remember it even now?
I do, 100%. 2017, when I got to Montreal, we played Ottawa. We played Ottawa literally, and I had a one-hand catch, left hand on my boy Baltimore. They used to play in Ottawa, and that was the #1 play on TSN for like 2 weeks, and that really was what got me in the league.
Then and now, still the same, Gino. Appreciate you.
Yes, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
I think I remember that catch. The thing is with Eugene Lewis, there's
been a lot of good ones.
I was just going to say almost too many that I just remember a single one.
Great play.
Tyree Adams is the quarterback now for the Ottawa REDBLACKS. So Dustin Crum is done. It's a 2nd and 12. And Adams' first possession in there. Now in his 4th season with Ottawa. And that toss goes a little bit high. Tyree Adams, I mean, you have a history with him, too. I mean, he came into the CFL when you were the head coach here in Ottawa. You'd liked him for a long time, liked his potential.
Yeah, he was somebody I kind of recognized early in his career as a sophomore in college, and I used to do these reports on quarterbacks all the way from freshman, sophomore, junior, senior years, and did they have some of the attributes we're looking for in players? And long story short, we had Mr. Laney Wilson, which was Duck Hodges. He retired right before the season, so we had a quarterback opening, and they said, hey, we got this kid Tyree Adams, and I said, I remember that guy, and his process as well. Won his first start in Edmonton, but so you'll see Tyree Adams competing with Dustin Crum, I guess, for this 3rd spot. You've got Matthew Schultz here, you've got Drew Brown, so which one of these guys wins that 3rd spot?
That'll be the question. There is Tyree Adams. Hard luck, too, the injury mentioned 2 years ago. By the way, that was Lindsay on the return after that punt. But I remember early in the season, there was quarterback trouble for Ottawa, and Nick Arbuckle, Jeremiah Masoli was hurt, Nick Arbuckle ineffective at that time, and Adams got the start. He performed very well in the game you talked about against Edmonton, and then he got hurt.
Well, and I'll go to, in this stadium, and Tyree Adams, go back to him one more point, is his first preseason game, his first throw, he threw a pick-6. And I remember watching him right on the sideline, I'm like, don't throw it, don't throw it. Does he throw it? Interception for a touchdown. But he led us back to beat the Toronto Argonauts. Took us on a drive to win at the end of the game. So very similar to like what's going on here. Morgan's trying to say, hey, listen, I'm going to be a guy that you can rely on, somebody that I'm going to go into games. If there's injuries, you can trust I'm going to be able to put the ball in spots.
Well, we're talking about quarterback changes. That is former Montreal Cataban, Jonathan Seneca.
Jonathan Seneca,
local product in Montreal, and he got a great ovation when he got in late in the game in the preseason last Saturday in Montreal at Molson Stadium. So Senegal is in now and completes that one. Guyardets. Isaac Guyardets of Laval, a rival college for
Montreal to Laval.
Montreal to Laval there. They hit on Guyardets getting a chance for some reps here as well. And I see the Canadian QB Senegal in for Montreal. Head over heels for Guyardets. Montreal football on a 1st down. The number on the scoreboard doesn't matter as much at this point as the numbers individual players are putting in and their performances. But again, I ask you through 3 quarters what stood out for you.
I think Morgan's been able to throw the football and keep his offense on the field and certainly put the ball in the end zone, that great throw. So you're seeing some young quarterbacks trying to say, hey, I can be in this building, put me in a position to help out.
Well, we were talking about Tyree Adams. Jonathan Senecal, a great story out of the University of Montreal. The Heck Crichton Trophy winner as the Player of the Year in Canadian University University football 2 years ago. Got a chance, just completed one pass. He came in right at the end last week in Montreal and got a nice ovation, and he's getting another chance here.
Here's what I loved about him in the draft, Rod. This is a kid who operated their system very well. He brought his team back to big wins in games, and you could see he had an understanding of what they were trying to do offensively. Like when he put the ball downfield, he made good decisions. When things were covered, he found his secondary read. You know, showed the ability to locate the football, just like here, making this throw. So a talented football player winning the Hank Crichton Award.
The sample here, Jonathan Senecal in college, and the poise he showed in that Hank Crichton Trophy winning year too, but with the Montreal Caravans.
Yeah, and you know he's got the ability to use his legs, but the thing I was impressed with, he threw the ball well. You always talk about having guys, you want not runners who can throw, Rod. You want throwers who can run. And sometimes guys come up to this league and they don't process information and throw the football. I think he does that very well watching his college tape.
And coming in off the edge to take him down for the REDBLACKS, that's number 33, DeAndre Lamont on Senecal, who didn't see him coming, so he'll head off.
It's good to see Senecal. Like, you know, this is an athletic kid. Just keep him in the building. Keep teaching him systems and allow him to be around Anthony Calvillo, Jason Moss, and this coaching staff will only get better with more time.
Senecal off. Joshua Sloan is in to punt it away for the Alouettes. Up 24-10. Lincoln Victor is the lone one back for the return for Ottawa. Last week, REDBLACKS in Montreal beat the Owls 23-7. Montreal with a 14-point lead. Excuse me, that is Victor. He breaks a tackle. Lincoln Victor. Good return going here. Midfield and more. Still going inside the 40, inside the 35.
What I love about preseason games, Rod, is the energy that's played by some of these guys. They understand I'm not getting a lot of opportunities. Victor here gets around the wall, bounces it back outside, stiff arm. I love seeing these young guys getting their opportunity, trying to make the most of their plays, creating some opportunities to miss, trying to, like I said, we're not building starters right here. We're building guys to be on the practice squad and in the building that eventually can become starters. So great return by Victor, great setup by the special teams, by the punt return team too.
So with Lincoln Victor's return, it gets inside the Alouette 40, and a first down now. Tyree Adams at quarterback for the REDBLACKS. Handing off to Samuels. Jalen Samuels on the run left, and he is tackled by Taiwan Mullen, who got the start at strong side linebacker for the Owls after a gain of 5.
Mullen, nice open field tackle. Run the ball carrier down for a short game. So for Tyree here, going to be an important second and medium here. He's just got to make good decisions here, right on the edge of the field goal range. Doesn't want to lose yardage here. Ensure they can make a kick.
Adams has time. Off to the right. And that's complete. Maurice French with the catch. French first year in Ottawa and played out west with Edmonton before that, and a pickup of 12 yards.
It's good to see Tyree, you know, in the pocket, finding his next receiver instead of taking off and running, knowing where his underneath check down is. Create the first down.
From the 22, Samuels, who had a 23-yard touchdown run at Molson Stadium in Montreal last week.
It's going to be second down. It's going to be second down.
REDBLACKS in that victory and has the carry there.
It's going to be about a 2nd and 7 here for Tyree. So second and long. See if he can get them to convert here. Again, Tyree processes. What I liked about Tyree Adams, he made the decision. He threw the ball quickly, Rod. And that's what you want. You want guys, he's got the ability to use his legs, but he will make a decision and throw it quickly.
Now on the 2nd and 7. That's caught wide open receiver. Got up for a moment and then down inside the 5 for a 1st and goal. Good. That's one of the Laurier receivers. They had signed him as a free agent. That's Rayton Thorne at the Wilfrid Laurier.
Good vision. This is going to be the throw out here, but he recognizes everybody going inside, so he throws it outside. Good recognition by Tyree, and he's got a live arm. He's a small dude. He's a little guy, but he can see pictures and throw it out there. Nice catch. Put the ball inside the 4. Good vision by the quarterback.
The other one, Ethan Jordan, 78. He was drafted by the Red Blacks, and as I say, they signed his teammate Rayton Thorne. They were great at Laurier last year. Back to Samuels, who was tackled down for a loss. That's McFarland, Christian McFarland. That good defensive play there for Montreal.
Yeah, the closer you get to this goal line, Rod, the more you're going to get pressure. So you got to pressure McFarland off the edge coming with a pressure, and they just don't get to that player. They come this way. He comes right off this edge. He's a free player. You got to cover your edges as you're closer to this goal line, because usually the defense is going to walk everybody up and bring them. So see now 2nd and goal.
Ottawa trying to get back within a touchdown. 2nd and goal at the Alouette 9. Tyree Adams end zone look. No one there. Closest receiver was Victor. No, says Taiwan Mullen in on the coverage.
Yeah, I think Victor's not sure whether Tyree sees this one-on-one matchup here. He just sees, I'm going to take that one-on-one matchup. And I think Victor's trying to, I don't know, it looks like Victor's running a curl. Tyree's running it like he's got an adjustable route where he can go deep to the back of the end zone.
So they'll go for it now at the Alouette 9. And a 3rd and goal. Just over 9 minutes in the 4th quarter to go. Adams flushed out, takes off inside the 5. Touchdown Ottawa. A flag is down in the end zone.
Yeah, it could be a hold right there by the receiver for Ottawa.
Illegal contact on the receiver.
Montreal
to 23. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a touchdown.
So Tyree Adams comes in, and here in the 4th quarter,
Montreal's trying to look at their young players, playing a little bit of man coverage. My young players play man coverage? Problem with man coverage sometimes is these athletic quarterbacks we're seeing today, once they start scrambling, there's nobody for the quarterback. Tyree recognizes that, doesn't trust any throws, takes it off, walks in. That's why you love quarterbacks with mobility. Throwers who've got the ability to run. Nice drive by Tyree.
So just got the 1 start in 23 before suffering the ACL injury, and his season was over. And last year with Drew Brown, the clear number 1, and Adams got some playing time. Dustin Crummett filled in, and that point after goes wide left by Lewis Ward. So it's Tyjon Lindsay running around. He wants to take it out, and does. And just goes out of bounds. So they're still within a score, 8 points down now after the touchdown by Tyree Adams. Getting his chance in this final preseason game. We are getting you ready for CFL kickoff Thursday night football, and that'll open things up. The Ottawa Red Blacks at Mosaic Stadium in Regina to face the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The season begins officially 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, right here on TSN opening night next Thursday night. Can't wait. Interesting stories we've told you about with the Red Blacks getting back to within 8 points in this preseason game. Tyjon Lindsay, on the return for Montreal. Changes in Saskatchewan as well as the Riders finish up their preseason tonight. 24-16 Montreal, 4th quarter. You see another Alouette receiver in the game now, number 76 there, Ferdinand. That's Kasim Ferdinand. And it's quite a story with him getting a chance to play in a CFL game. His father, the late Denny Ferdinand, was a running back, and a very good one, too, for 8 seasons with Montreal, Saskatchewan, and Ottawa. Sadly, Denny passed away back in 2002, just months before his twin boys were born, including Kasim, who learned all about his dad playing in the the CFL, and a thrill to be invited to camp by the Alouettes and in the game right now. James Morgan.
Kasim Rod was a very good football player for Carleton University. Did a lot of great things. He was their leading punt returner. There's their slot receiver that they used in all their speed sweeps and got him the ball. He was their speed player they wanted to get the ball. A lot of people expect him to be drafted, but good to see him getting an opportunity.
And he's from Ottawa, Lapo, but he always cheered for Montreal because that's where the prominent years with the Montreal Concord. Denny Ferdinand, his dad, played, so it's nice to see him, and you know, for his family too, a thrill just, you know, to be in a CFL game. There he is, 76, and heading off now on a third down. But I remember Denny Ferdinand, a solid running back with the Concord, later the old Ottawa Rough Riders, back when they went by that name in Saskatchewan as well.
And this is what's difficult for these guys at the end of the game. Kasim gets in, he blocks on one play, there's a pass on the other, but they don't stay on the field, he's off the field. And that's why you're always talking to your guys like, hey, get as many plays as you can, help each other out, locate the football so other guys can get touches.
So that's Joshua Sloan to punt for Montreal. Halfway through the fourth quarter. Flag comes out for roughing the kicker on the return there by Victor. It'll be coming back. And it looks like this is going against Ottawa. You heard the crowd reaction there as some heat got in on Sloan. The flag is back there. Here's what happened, Lapo.
As you go in, you know, the area underneath.
Contacting the kicker, Ottawa, number 35. It's a 10-yard penalty. Makes it a first down for Montreal.
You see here, Collins doesn't touch the plant leg, but he doesn't touch his kicking leg. But the area underneath where the punter's landing, that's an area where you cannot be because that's protected area for the punter. Collins is underneath it and gets his, gets his hands on gets his body on the legs of the punter. So that gives them the automatic first down. So you just got to be careful as he comes in. You just can't take that space. That space reserved for the punter.
Yeah, wrong for me to say roughing contact in the kick. I heard Ben Major. You see why. 10-yard penalty, first down. So Tanner Nelms now the running back for Montreal as they keep the ball. Throwing across. That is complete. That's Shedler Furbius with his first catch of this game. Furbius in his third year competing for one of those roster spots as the depth receiver, but another flag is down.
Holding Montreal, number 51. It's a 10-yard penalty. We'll replay first down.
Vincent Mullen here getting the holding call. Number 51 at right tackle. You'll see him on the hold. It's his pass setting. Doesn't look a little questionable. Maybe some preseason refs need some preseason reps too, huh? Rod, I don't know if I saw a hold there, but maybe there's another angle I didn't see.
We all need it, Lapo.
We all do.
We all need it. First and 20, the 34. Morgan is mentioned in back after we saw Senecal picked off. Dawson Pierre at the 35. The Morgan pass is taken away. Dawson Pierre, Ottawa football. Late in this game, down 8 points. Well, not so fast. They reviewed Dawson Pierre.
Automatic review by the command center. The previous play is overturned. The result of the play is an incomplete pass. It's going to be second down and 10 for Montreal.
So no pick for Pierre. Reached down for it. Looked like he might have had the pick, but the replay says otherwise.
Yeah, and as we know, all turnovers going to be reviewed by command center. So good job by the command center. Making it a second and extra now, though. There we go. There's the command center. Get everybody in there.
Getting set, too, for start of a new season from the 34 to second and 20 now. And that is caught. by Kasim Ferdinand.
Nice catch for
Gets the catch.
Pretty cool.
The son of Denny Ferdinand. He said the family was tearful when they knew that he had a chance to go to Alouettes camp after not being drafted. Product of Carleton University here in Ottawa. Got himself a CFL catch in this preseason game.
Yeah, a bunch of people below us were clapping for him. Probably some friends from Carleton University. And, great career at Carleton. And now hoping to keep extending.
Remember the catch for sure for Kasim Ferdinand. And a third down, though, from the Alouette 48. They'll have to punt it away.
Count violation. Montreal number 72. It's going to be a 5-yard penalty. It's still third down.
So once again, this is the second time count that happened on a punt. That's because not enough men on the field. Somebody, one of the younger guys who's probably playing defense or getting an opportunity to play, forgets he's on special teams. So you see both teams tonight took a time count so they can get 12 men on the field.
So Sloan goes back inside his 30. It's Lincoln Victor back to receive this punt, which he does at about the 23. Drops it, picks it up, and gets through the crowd a little bit to get something out of it up to the 27. But Kasim Ferdinand, there he is, number 76, getting a shot, and he gets a reception here in the fourth quarter from James Morgan.
His offensive coordinator, there you go. His offensive coordinator, Josh Jacoby, is now on the staff of the Ottawa REDBLACKS as the running back coach. And I know Josh said a lot of great things about him, thought he was a special football player for him anyways at Carleton University.
So a 1st and 10 for the REDBLACKS now at their own 27, down by 8. Tyree Adams. The pass, deep ball, and it's a bit too far. That's intended there for Victor.
Oh, fell out of his shoe. So fast, fell out of his shoe.
Little problem with the footwear right there for French.
Flip it. Got to get somebody else. Look at that. Slid right out of it. Somebody get the equipment guy over there. That ain't good.
The ball as well. Quite a cut there by Maurice French.
Change direction.
Losing the sole of the shoe.
You got to play with shoes, Rob. You cannot play with socks.
Is that a rule?
I think so.
So I don't know if it's ever been tested, except for barefoot kickers. We have seen a few of those in football. That's the one exception, I guess. Takes off. And a little jump at the end as well for Adams, who ran for a touchdown earlier in this quarter.
That was good by Tyree. He's trying to find somebody who's at zone coverage. He can't find anybody open, so he starts to move, still looking for people. There comes a time to go. Scrambles, get the first down. Like, he had some look downfield. Then there's a time and place, say it's time to get out of here. Really good understanding. Get the first.
Gets it up to the 40 and a first down. Under 5 minutes to play. Pressure coming in on Adams, who does get rid of it and completes it as well. It's up for a first down and into the hands of Latrell Jones.
And this is a harder pass than you think. Blitz by Montreal. Nolthorpe said a couple first downs. I'm going to pressure the quarterback. They had everybody up at the line of scrimmage. He throws the screen on the outside. Good located football. Now here comes the tempo quarterback sneak.
Because it's just shy of a first, so they'll complete that process right there. And the short yardage play to get it over the 50. And apparently, yes, they'll move those sticks. First down for Ottawa.
It's been an interesting night for numbers, Rod. So there are 9 different players from the Montreal Alouettes that have the same numbers on. There are 3 players.
I'm aware of that, by the way.
So as a play-by-play guy, you've done a nice job with all these double-digit numbers.
Great, you good.
I'm trying. Yeah, that's the test of preseason football, too.
And
you double them up.
I'll say this. So the equipment managers across the league do an outstanding job. They love the great players of the Canadian Football League. They love that those players get us Grey Cup wins and all those things. But you know what they don't like? They don't like when those guys go in the Hall of Fame or they get their number retired. Because then the equipment guy's like, we have no more numbers.
Right.
So that's why we have to double up. So the equipment guys are like, oh my God, we retired another number? That's why you get teams with 9 of the same numbers on different units. And like Montreal's doing now.
2nd and 7. Around midfield for Tyree Adams. Deflected at the line of scrimmage, and it falls incomplete. 3rd down coming up here for Ottawa.
Great deflection, or else that was going to be a big play at the line. I'm not sure which Montreal player. Noel Thorpe at the end of the game, he's trying to see these young players play a lot of man coverage. You're seeing a lot of man coverage. That's why Tyree knows where to go with the football quickly. But a great knockdown, or else that was going to be a big play. Was that Lassard maybe make that play? You'll see Red Blacks going for it here.
Barely 3 minutes to go. Ottawa on 3rd down, 3rd and 7 around midfield. Down by 8 points. Pressure coming, knocked down at the line again. So a turnover on downs emphatically with Bryce Cosby coming in and putting some heat there on Tyree Adams. A turnover on downs, and the Montreal offense is back on the field again. The 3-minute warning is given here in the nation's capital for the Red Blacks and the Alouettes to finish up the preseason and get ready to get it started for keeps. Get ready for a new CFL season 2025. The kickoff is Thursday night. Thursday night football, Mosaic and Regina, the Rough Riders hosting the Ottawa Red Blacks. So that's next Thursday. Friday night football, the Alouettes hosting the defending champion Argos. The Ticats, bullied by Mitchell, back in Calgary. And wrapping it up, it'll be Edmonton in Vancouver to face the BC Lions. Week 1, we can't wait to get it started. The preseason winds down here under 3 minutes to go, and Morgan's loaded it up. But the receiver falls down. That's Shedler Furbius, and it falls incomplete deep in the Ottawa zone.
You know, an interesting thing, like Senegal goes in for one series. Was it one series, Rod?
Yeah, it was
we saw one, and you see Morgan back in, and you know, sometimes you're thinking about, well, why doesn't he keep the guy in? Why don't you play him more? As a young guy, he's got to see. It might be because they already made that decision that he's going to be around. He's going to be on their practice squad, where they're trying to sort out, hey, what about this Morgan guy? Where does this guy fit? Could he be our 3? Where is he going to be? I don't know if I don't know if James Morgan's going to go on the practice squad. So there's a lot of things trying to sort out why this guy would get a little bit more reps than Senegal.
Morgan was in the practice roster until September last year. Then they did bring him back in October, but.
You know, some of these guys who've been in the NFL, you know, they're going to say, hey, I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this. I don't know if I want to keep going to practice squad. That's why, like, when you do tomorrow make your cuts, coaches is going to go, all right, we're going to ask this person first, then the next person, because you're not sure. You're trying to figure out, all right, I want this guy, but he may not stay. So you're trying to go through all that process going to happen tomorrow.
Sloan to punt for Montreal. Take it deep in their zone. Sante and Victor back. Victor takes it back at the goal line. And just runs out of bounds at around the 12.
And I can't stress enough, you know, cuts are tomorrow. So what's going to happen is there'll be a team meeting in the afternoon. They're going to vote on what time they start practice and everything. But you got to get medicals on this game, too. You're still figuring out who's healthy, who's not.
Would coaching staffs tonight, after this game, start looking at stuff?
Yeah, you're
first thing in the morning.
Well, a couple of things fans may not know is, obviously Saskatchewan's week 1, they're playing. What has been going on? Usually you're going to break down that team in the offseason. So Sask hasn't changed offensive coordinator. They haven't changed defensive coordinator. So what's going to happen is they've already worked on that practice, their game plan for this team, because they know it's a short week. But yeah, you're going to try to sneak a peek at this film, but Sunday they're starting. They have their first day of practice, so there's not a lot of time on a short week.
Shovel pass there by Adams, and that's up to Collins up across.
And the organizations, Rod, are going to have to, like the Red Blacks organization will keep these players and say, hey, listen, you can stay in the dormitories. Yeah. We'll put you up until there's a time where you can actually find an apartment for the guys who make the team or make the practice squad, the young guys. Nice hard run. Nice hard run.
Run there. He's had a few of them. It's pro football. I mean, I get it. But difficult process when you see someone that has really made an impression on you, but that you just can't keep them. How difficult can that be on a coach?
There's a lot of things you try to do. Like, I know when I was here, Sean Burke and I, like, we did not want to cut players. We went to the hotel where the players were staying, and we went to because we didn't want the players to walk 10 minutes. Because when they get that call, they know what's happening. Right. We want to be there right for them. So it's a difficult time for a lot of these guys.
Please reset the clock to 2:02, and please reset the 20-second clock. Thank you.
But you do understand that this is a change business, and you have to be comfortable to be in change. And it's certainly not for some of these guys. It's goodbye, but doesn't mean they're not going to be friends. Some of these guys are going to go to other teams. Some of these guys are going to get called back when there's injuries.
Right.
So you just want to, I always try to treat the players as best as you can. They understand cuts are coming, but treat them the best way you can through the process.
There's someone that's made an impression tonight, Tice, both on special teams and from the backfield, and limited number of touches. And there have been others too, but let it suffice to say, in 2 weeks' time, before week 2 and Friday night here in Ottawa, these two teams meet again, and the faces will certainly be different. Most of the starters did not play in this one tonight for both teams.
Yeah, Caleb Evans had a really nice night. 2 touchdown passes, one rushing, one throwing.
There he is.
And, and James Morgan had a nice night.
Well, yeah, the numbers, I was going to say, for what it's worth, Morgan 12 of 19, 126 and a touchdown. And Evans 8 of 11 for 111 and a touchdown. No way Joe gets cut.
Joe does the cutting, right?
He does, yeah. They want to do some cutting. They want to cut some lumber here. Every time there's a touchdown, tradition here, they get the log out and they cut a wood cookie there. And
one thing I did as the head coach here, trying to get more takeaways, is we said, hey, if there's an interception or a fumble recovery, we're going to take one. Make the defense. Don't just celebrate touchdowns. We're going to celebrate takeaways. Yeah. We're going to cut a wood cookie every turnover that's created.
There you go.
Nice job there. Excellent play. Trying to make his opportunity. Jalen Harris later in the game.
And French with the ball. He's got a new pair of shoes. And it's working well for him there as he gets another catch.
Is there a cobbler? There's a cobbler on the sideline. Is that what it's called? The guy that fixes your shoes? Is that a cobbler?
Get those shoes fixed up. Got some football to get. There it is.
Here's the wood cookie.
Yep.
And there's Zipper Face. That's an interesting outfit right there. My guy. Man. Look at that guy. So, you know what? That's a fan. Take some reps. Look at that.
Last time they got to do it when Tyree Adams.
Do you think he goes to the bar after a big win? Yeah. Do you think he still goes as Zipper Face?
I hope so.
I would think so. Yeah. Like, you imagine, like, his buddies say, hey, let's go to the bar, and he shows up without it, and they're like, what are you doing? We wanted you here because you're Zipper Face. Put the Zipper Face on.
He's got to do it. And there are establishments he can go to around here. Not far away.
Yes, what does Mrs. Zipper Face look like? Great throw on the sideline. This is one of Ottawa's favorite plays. You throw what I call a bench route, 16 yards to the sideline. Tyree, this is a great throw by Tyree with somebody right in front of him trying to get this drive at the end of the game. Tyree's, for a smaller guy, he's got a very strong arm. And like I said, he'll make a decision, he'll throw it.
Tyree Adams throwing again. It's caught, flags out, French with it. Ball squirts out. Looks like he was already down.
So we're 106 here. You know, they're only down 8, so they're going to be no huddle the rest of the way, trying to get up as much as they can, get the touchdown and the 2-point to tie it up. We could go to overtime.
It is the preseason.
Yeah,
but they would love to cut one more wood cookie, wouldn't they?
Number 23. It's a 5-yard penalty. We'll replay first down.
He said the first home game for the Red Blacks in 2025 will be against these Alouettes 2 weeks from tonight, June 13th, and these guys will be ready to go. And you know what? Their record, they went 0-3 against the Alouettes last year. And that's something they want to change. They're going to move up the East Division. The record against the Alouettes. Sasante up in midfield.
Nice quick underneath throw. Everybody will be up on the ball. They'll be calling a coded word. One word that tells everybody what to do. And get sorted out. You see Tyree telling the offensive line what the protection is, telling the receivers what the name of the play is, and they're going to snap it as soon as they can. Wasting a little bit too much time here.
Under a minute to go. Half a field to go for Adams. Looking for a bunch of it right there, but a bit too far. Falling incomplete down at the 25. There for Andre Miller.
You know, sometimes it's not always the quarterback. Miller here kind of came out of this. I wish he would have ran out of the top of his route, kind of put his foot in the ground and kind of slowed up a little bit. If he runs onto that, I think he's got a chance to make that play.
You see the Red Blacks next week. Drew Brown, the starting quarterback. They will have newcomers. William Stanback in the backfield, over from BC, ex-Alouette. Eugene Lewis, another ex-Al, coming over from Edmonton. New look offense for the Red Blacks coming up against Saskatchewan. Against Trevor Harris, old Ottawa quarterback. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who got back to the division final last year, losing in Winnipeg. But
really good protection here, Rod. The young guy is protecting for Tyree, and then he recognizes him, takes off and goes.
Under 40 seconds now.
Too much time. Come on.
On the 1st and 10 for Adams. Has plenty of time. Has to shovel it off again for Collins. Down around the 40. And incomplete.
25 seconds left, so they got to get at least half. You know, they got a couple of plays, but they got to flip the field here at the 44-yard line. And you're going to get zoned from Noel Thorpe at the end of the game. He's going to say, hey, we'll keep everything in front of us for 2 more football plays. They'll give up the first down. We'll just keep them out of the end zone.
He's a fucking 3-tech. There you go.
25 seconds on the second down. Adams under pressure and throws it away. So not many chances left now with 17 seconds on the clock. They got a third down coming up here at the Alouette 44. As time ticks away at this CFL preseason.
And certainly for, you know, I know the Red Blacks do want to get a touchdown, but also on a short week, you may let's get this game over with and get to the regular season. Us, we're just here for football, right? We'll take double overtime.
Yeah, we don't need the rest. Easy for us to say when we stand up.
Yeah, we're going to be right. We'll be on planes and going over just to call a game.
Yeah, our producer Chris Edwards reminding us there would be no overtime if Ottawa somehow comes back. No, they'll accept it as a tie.
Yes.
And I'm sure everyone would be in agreement. It's a turnover on down, so Academic now with 12 seconds on the clock. And the Alouettes.
Good shit, fellas. Way to finish.
Set to call it a 1-1 preseason with the Red Blacks after Ottawa won last Saturday. Tyree Adams, a third quarterback, was just off the fingertips there of Asante. Third quarterback Ottawa used tonight. Drew Brown did not play. We saw Matthew Schultz and Dustin Crum for a while, and saw lots of James Morgan too. Just takes a knee for this victory in the preseason for the Montreal Alouettes. So there were some impressions made here, but we really do wonder about these teams as they get set to get things started in the regular season next week.
Yeah, you know, you got Montreal and Toronto, you know, obviously two teams that they're looking forward to playing each other after Toronto upset Montreal at home. And the REDBLACKS, you know, the REDBLACKS were a very good team versus the West last year. They had a winning record versus the West, so they got to go out to play at a tough place in Ryderville. And, you know, last year there was that crazy back and forth tie. Remember right here, it was one of their games. So looking forward to this season starting and watching these two teams.
Oh, absolutely. We're all looking forward to it here at Ottawa at home against Montreal in week 2. That's 2 weeks from tonight. But first, week 1. The season begins next Thursday with Ottawa and Saskatchewan, and with the Alouettes hosting the Toronto Argonauts the next night. The CFL preseason for these two teams is in the books. Rosters need to be finalized and then get set. Montreal, top team in the regular season in 2024 and looking to get back to the Grey Cup this year. The Ottawa REDBLACKS made great strides last year, looking to improve on that. Thank you for watching this preseason game, and we'll see you Thursday night. The CFL on TSN. Good night.